So just to reiterate my take on the star seeds, I think they are right about a lot of the elements of star seeds, but I don't think it's aliens because in a sense it's not aliens in the sense of humans aliens. Like, oh, you're not human, because this is just, as I keep saying, this is just like a production. And at the moment, this is what we look like. This is, we've got human features. We are in this incarnation, in this matrix, in this type of existence. This is kind of what we look like. Okay. But the spirit has no human genetics. It doesn't, they don't look like humans. That's why I, most times I just keep quiet. But people keep going, oh, there was an angel and had wings of pure white. Well, that depends on which matrix you're in. If you were in a little green Martian matrix, existence, reincarnation, whatever it is, that's what they would look like. They would look like, because that's what you'd expect them to look like. So human, souls don't have human characteristics, genetics, etc. They have consciousness, which can be anything. So to say that we are starseeds and we come from all sorts of different dimensions and things is probably true. It's just that it's not that the where I deviate from the discussion, from the general discussion, is that it's not like we have normal human beings and then we have aliens. No, we are all the same soul energy. So we don't have aliens amongst us. We are the aliens. And so, I mean, there's probably a very good chance that all of us are aliens, because this existence was created at this time. So we probably had a different one before then. We might have been lizard people, and that's why I also brought that up slightly, just briefly, in the last discussion. Why we have discussions about lizard people and blah 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 blah, lizard brains, and we wait for Peaky, and he'll come and tell you all about the lizard brains. And so yeah, that for me can just be people recalling previous lifetimes or previous incarnations. So I that's where I deviate from it. And then assigning, where you'll see some of them say, what type of star seed are you? And you come from this, Pleiades and this place and that. I also think that's a little silly, because it's like saying, okay, all humans that come from Earth are all selfish little bastards, and then everybody that comes from Mars, Pleiades, or the different places that they come from, are all this. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. However, it does. I think the idea behind it was to have descriptions of the characteristics, etc. And I think people have latched onto, oh, I'm from this place or that place or in that part of the universe. Like, no, it doesn't make sense if you stop and think about it. However, all the other information I think is pretty good. And interesting enough, I mean, some of it is just redundant. It's like, I feel like I don't fit in. Yeah, well, nobody does either. It's called society. It makes no one feel like they fit in. So that some of those characteristics are pretty silly, in my opinion, because they apply to everybody. They aren't anything. However, some of them are relatively. Thank you. I wanted to learn a little bit more about it as well. So I haven't actually watched these videos completely. I just skimmed through them just to see if it was the kind of content that I would watch. So if I would watch it, that's what I'll put on. Like I said, I really quite like some of his content. I actually did watch some of it. So for me, the important part about it is to understand, is not to. Also, part of the thing that I don't like about the starseed culture is that it's like worship. They're worshiping the aliens, or the people, these master races and things from different planets, and also it's used like a division. So like, well, I'm a starseed, you're not, so you're no good. That's nonsense. It's like, actually, some of the videos I've played so far actually will actually tell you everybody's a starseed. Some of them will say most of you are starseeds. Some of them will say you're all starseeds, which is actually true. So that's the point of me discussing the starseeds, is to kind of just get away from that woo-woo worship of other gods. The power is within you. The universe is within you. Okay, so you are your universe. You are the starseed that you seek. Yes, some of it is very foreign. Yeah, and it's too generic. It's too boxed. It's like, why would anyone who's advanced and a superior race to us, why would they put themselves in the box? They wouldn't. So it's kind of silly. Now you would obviously expect there would be some characteristics that would be similar. Like let's say you existed on Earth, then you would probably have breathed in oxygen because that's what we get here. We don't get helium unless it comes in the bottle. So you would get certain characteristics. So your physical body would have adapted to the environment, over many generations, etc. It would just be so that makes sense. But the actual attributes, I think, are a little bit silly. However, like we had the part that I really found interesting was the starseeds time chart of when they were born. And again, that's kind of even that video that I showed, and you'll see it from the previous version, the previous video, part one. It just to me like what type of star when you were born and what I can't remember the names now, like I can't even remember the names now of the various decades, the various periods, and to me that indicates a development of consciousness, an evolution, like a kind of an evolution of collective consciousness on the planet, of souls. So I like that, and we discussed that already. Yeah, the rainbow crystal, and what's the other one? The Blu-ray. I'm the Blu-ray because I'm from born in the '60s. So like I kind of Blu-ray into indigo, I think. I can't remember now. I can't remember the actual thing. It's all in the other video. For me, it's not that important. And as I explained it, is that there's a crossover. So technically, what what it is, like I explained, and I'll just go over it briefly, is that if you were born in the Blu-ray, okay, or it's blue something or other, I think it's Blu-ray. The idea is that you're not stuck there. So, like, I'm not a Blu-ray, permanently for the rest of my life until I die. No, you're supposed to evolve. So every new time period of the star seeds being born is an evolution. So you would go between each one. Of course, the people who are born now, they're 20 years old now, they would be, I think it's the crystals, I think, are the last thing. That they would be born into that. So they wouldn't have gone through all the others because they'd already be at that point. It's like a preparation of consciousness to get to a level, to a more evolved spiritual level. So it's what I'll keep calling the evolution of soul. So I think it's like a training period. So I've technically gone through all of them because I'm 54. So I've gone through Blu-ray and then I forget the others. So if I was really doing my work, spiritual work, I should have been evolving with every time, with every decade. I don't know how many years it was. Actually, had the one video just had all the charts. It was really nicely done, but that was on the last episode. So I should have been evolving through all of them. So when people say, "Oh, I'm an indigo," I said, "Well, you should by now you should actually be a crystal." That's the theory. That at least that's the way I understand. It's not like you get born in. It's not like you get born and then you have these limited capabilities. Because you Blu-ray, so you came at the beginning, so you guys weren't as good as the crystals. No, it's just we're supposed to. I've had 50 years to get to the point where the crystal children are. Or at when they are born, because they're born into this consciousness. So it's like with getting a flow of energy with the maybe I'm onto something. Who knows? Well, the soul knows. I don't know what I know. So it's like a preparation. Like throughout our history, we have preparation. Sometimes it's negative, through governments and socialization, where they train you to take to to devalue yourself. And that's always an ongoing thing. But that takes a long period of time. So I feel this is like the same thing. So like the whole dawning of Aquarius and all of that was the kickstart. So technically I fall into the 60s because I was born in 69. So we would have been the early ones that would have come down to it and go, hell, there's something very wrong here. There's some fucking bullshit going on here, but I don't know. I'm a kid, but this doesn't make sense. So we were the first ones technically in this epoch, but I don't believe it started back then. Okay, I think it's just that this is like the culmination of these events, We're all starseeds, and we are all microcosms of the macrocosm. Exactly, Shaman. Absolutely. Anyway, so I just wanted to go over that again for the people who didn't watch the first part, which you can. After the stream, you can go and watch the first part. Right, that's about it. Yoda Andrea, how are you doing? I do feel like I have sudden shifts in my perspective. And that to me is as we're going through the different periods. So it's, one can just say, yeah, well, you're just getting older, so you're becoming more mature, etc. Yes, but there's, even for me, when I was a little Blu-ray, like I would look at stuff like religion. I'm going, oh, this is this. I don't know where they got the shit from, but this is like I don't know, but this doesn't seem right. Like to me, it was like, no, this is not right. I can't put my little 5-year-old finger on this, but this doesn't seem right. So, and over as an ego, as a physical human being, I've also developed and matured. So I've come to understand, I've come to remember stuff that the soul knows as well. So when I was watching some of this stuff, because I always thought, oh, this is just another silly little like gimmick, Yeah, they do. It's quite weird. I've been getting a shitload of flashes of memories of things. I feel like my life at the moment, well, specifically in the moment, but the last 5 years, it felt like 5 years ago my life stopped. Okay, it just stopped. And then I went through 5 years of just being a nomad that I had no intention of being. I didn't want to be. For me, it's the most horrendous thing to live like that. And for 5 years, I've just had nothing but trouble. I've had almost no peace. Well, I mean, the last 2 years were not too bad. Hey, Mr. Weird, how you doing?
Hey, it's the real Mr. Weird. Not the fake stuff, but like totally the real McCoy.
Is it going to shout out? Bot's not working properly today. I wonder why. I wonder if you should try and disconnect it. Let's just do this. The bot's definitely not working 100%. Sometimes it shuts out, sometimes it doesn't.
Then resisting it, running from it, judging it as bad or unfair or hostile. Can you see the gift that is here? Surrender to the fool's embrace, allowing the truth to envelop you in love and compassion. What if you could learn something amazing from this? What is truly...
Zip. You'll have to go over and watch the rest. So for you as well, it's interesting. I thought maybe it's just my life that was really fucked up. It's quite interesting because it seems to fall into for me as well the pattern of sevens. That 7 years, and there's Peaky. This is the man who can tell you all about alien brains and lizard brains. So, but I was 49. Yeah, I was 49 when kind of the rug was pulled and I had to kind of get rid of everything, and my Mercedes was stolen instead of being paid for and all sorts of shit. And it just started 5 years of just like literally, after 5 years, I just looked back. I said, like, where have I been for 5 years? It's just been one non-stop struggle. I've achieved nothing. I've gained nothing. I left Ireland with less money than I went there. And I went there because things were bad. So and then it's like, that's why I benched you for about a year before I left. I was just trying to get out of Europe. I was just trying to get out of Ireland because it's just like, this is going to be my life for the rest of my life until I drop dead and I can't work anymore. So for the last 5 years, I feel so detached. I know it's on purpose. It still fucking irritates me. I'm so detached from, I mean, not detached physically, not detached like by choice, really, from my old life. But I get all these, the weirdest things. I get all these, maybe it's just being old. I get all these strange, like, flashbacks, and I just push them out of my mind because I don't want to think about the past. Not because, like, hey, thank you for the follow.
You totally followed. Don't think I didn't notice.
So it's not because, like, I don't want to deal with it. It's just I don't want to think about it because, like, I never wanted to immigrate twice in 5 years. This was not my plan. None of this was my plan, really, as a human. But even I get these flashes, like, I was listening to the CD which I highly advise you guys go and listen to it if you can find it on Spotify. It's a very old CD, and for you guys, for me, it's not that old. I was what, about 17, 18, 19, 20, somewhere on there. Actually, I could tell you, but I had to call up the music. No, there's no more immigrations. I'm not leaving this. I mean, I might go to a different country, like in Latin America or Central America. Well, probably not Latin America, but Central America. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving this continent again, unless it's maybe to, like, I wouldn't even say to travel, but if for some reason this called me to go overseas, do talks or whatever. But I'm not leaving this continent. This is where I'm going to die, and I'd rather die before I have to immigrate again. I'm just tired of leaving everything behind, and I'm tired of starting over. I'm just tired. So anyway, so the last 5 years, like Captain was also saying, it's been this weird limbo. This, like, and I keep looking back at this. This is what the people I've spoken to very privately about this. I don't speak a lot about these things publicly because it's too heavy for most people to handle. So I just don't talk about them. And it's like, this isn't what I want. So if and I always, you always preach to people that if your life's not what you want and you're not living the way you want to live, not talking about exotic cars, yachts, and things, just the way you're living, if then it's not worth it. So you got to do something about it. But I felt like the last 5 years specifically, like I've just been stuck. I've been stuck, and I'm going, like, why am I stuck and I cannot unstuck myself? Like, why? And specifically last year, because in the last 6 months to a year, well, I mean, I've been here now for 4 months. I'm in Mexico, by the way, for those new guys. And on an island. And for about 6 months before I left, six months or so. No, I know where I am. I also know I'm not where I want to be, and I have no way to get there because everything requires money. It's not something I'm for some reason, there's a reason I'm not able to really manifest much more than just to keep floating. And I'm fucking tired of just floating. Like, it just seems to be no way to generate more wealth than that. Like I spoke about it 6 months ago, there's a major life event, well, I think it began when I left Ireland and made the decision to come to Latin America. That's the beginning of that cycle. This is the last cycle of my life. So I don't plan on leaving here. But it came down to numerology as well, and dates and things, which I've spoken about before on some of the other streams. And it's because I'm going to chat for you. Which country you live in? South America. I'm in Mexico. I'm on an island in Mexico, bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. And so I kind of lost my train of thought. Not really talking about starseeds, I suppose. But I think it goes. We're on the topic of how we go through different periods and how you evolve. And I think these last 5 years have been, because I wasn't. Look, I was worth $1 million in rand a couple of decades ago, so I was comfortable. And a house, my house is paid for. I bought and sold property well. I had my Mercedes was paid for. The one that got stolen. I mean, I had it for many, many years, so it wasn't like it was brand new. It just looked new, And so I was comfortable. The 5 years of being hand to mouth, this is completely new for me. And I must be honest, I really don't like it. I don't like the stress of it. It serves no purpose. However, part of it is being to detach, to I'll probably say in a way, force myself to detach from physical things. I think by and large I have, but not necessarily in a positive way. It's just like, it's almost just like giving up. And that to me is not a positive thing. Like, I still have my things. Well, I have a few things in storage, but I have no access to them, and I can't go and get them, and I can't pay for them to send them over. And the longer it takes for me to send them over, the more it's going to cost, because we're going into a major world catastrophe at the moment. And it's going to cost so much money to ship things over that the longer it takes, the less likely I'm ever going to see my things. And we're talking about the only things that are left of my family, my photographs that I've taken photographs from when I was a child. Like all that will all be lost. Everything I have in there. There's stuff that I need that's in storage that I can't get access to. Anyway, so that's the limbo I've been in for 5 years. So people don't always understand. And I say to them, I said, try living out of a suitcase for 5 years, not by choice, but because that's just the way it is. And your suitcase is like a, what I used to call it, like a time capsule. I used to avoid looking in my suitcase. I used to avoid, because like I would find stuff and I would say, oh God, that was still washed in my old house. That still smells of the, whatever, the soap, whatever was in there. And they would be like, oh God, I've forgotten I packed that in there. I used to avoid opening my suitcase. I should just also I never really had space. So it's a horrible way to be. I mean, some people love the whole nomadic lifestyle. I don't. It's not for me. I like to be settled. Like I've already got stuff growing in the kitchen. I don't even have soil in the stuff is growing. That's me. I want to be settled. Anyway, so Native American history. That's I think part of the reason why I'm here, which is being kind of revealed. The soul knows, but like he's an arsehole. He won't tell me. So 20 odd years ago, I worry. Well, I've got there's at the moment there's two. Well, I get little bits of money from different things. So, for example, Quora.com, they pay me from time to time. So it's dropped off a little bit, but I get about between 8 and 10,000 views on my content on Quora. So that generates a little bit of income, not much. Probably average out like $5-10 a month. That comes in. I get money from Etsy store. That varies as well. That's $20-30 and comes in from there. But it's petty cash. Well, mind you, here in Mexico, life is a lot cheaper. So it goes a long way. Then I get money. I've got a freelance job doing graphic design, which it comes and goes. And I'm working with someone, which we haven't announced yet publicly, but I'm working with somebody. So I've been writing a whole lot of, I've been doing a lot of SEO writing for a new site, which we'll announce soon, at some point. So I get paid for that. So I'm very grateful for that because that helps me to meet my bills. And it's just literally from month to month. Then I had a couple of, 2-3 months ago, I had a book. I also do publishing work. So I got a book to typeset and to prepare for the electronic public distribution. So that paid for about 2 months of work, bills. I don't know. But it is Mexico, so that would have probably paid for 1 month's bills in Europe. Here it pays for 2 months of bills. Then I bought a little desk and this horrible chair, it's broken already. So that's it, just from hand to mouth. And then I've had help from friends. And it just feels like this is ridiculous. It's like from having driven a lovely car, having a house that was paid for and everything, and gradually over the last 10-15 years, and now I literally have nothing. So like there better be a big fucking plan at the end of this shit, because I'm tired of this now. I've actually gone back to just actually focusing on making money now, because money isn't everything. But at the moment, that money is what I need to achieve the things that I want to do. That's what it boils down to. So like I just do things now that will bring me income, because like talking about Native American history. About, I don't know, 23, 24 years ago, I came across the Maya. Yeah, the thing is that right now, this is what's pissing me off, is right now, it's not money to buy luxuries. It's money to actually do the things that I want. All right. We'll see you a little bit later, Captain. And I think this is what the 5 years the last 5 years have kind of created that mind shift, is to stop on the purely physical aspect of it and then move into a more of, because this is what I always teach people. Like, how do you want your life to be? What do you want your life to be? I mean, what is it exactly? Because most of us have this, what I call the press release. And we say, when you ask a person, okay, what do you want in your life? Oh, I want a nice husband and a nice car. It's like, no, those are just things. That doesn't, like, how would that life be? Okay, what would it feel like? How if there were no considerations, no restrictions, like what would your life be like? And that's what we need, all of us, we need to create. Now, unfortunately, right now, without money, I can't create those things. Talking about the Native American thing, about 25 years ago, I discovered the Maya, and I began researching the Maya, and there was just been an affinity with the Maya Indians. And so I used to have lots of books, and I did a lot of research. I used to keep up with everything, not so much these days. And I used to would read papers and go, that's not right. And I'm going why do I know this? Like, why am I saying that's not right? It's like, but it is just a feeling. Like most people don't really understand the Maya. They lump the Maya in with, for example, the Mixtecs and Aztecs, and that, there's others I forget now. Those are just the ones, because they're all in that area. They're all kind of influenced each other, and so for me, it's always been a thing of interest. I always thought, it'd be absolutely amazing to one day. I thought back then to take a trip and actually go to some of these places. Well, guess what? I'm like within a couple of 100 kilometers from most of them, and I haven't got the money to get there. I haven't got transport. I haven't got a car. I haven't got a car. So it's like, what's the point of being here if I'm still stuck? So it's really coming down to having the resources to do these things. Now, that's not overly important. I think there is a reason why I'm here in this part of the world, and I think it's got to do more. Not really. I not really want to make a lot of friends. Hey, Terra Mama, how you doing? Thank you for coming in. Nothing is shouting out today. I think I need to switch off the bot and switch it back on.
So we talked about maybe in the future using some of the techniques that help me, which would be like tapping with tarot and doing other things with tarot.
I was saying, is that tap dancing?
With those processes. So, of course, I'm always welcome to hear feedback. If you liked it, let me know. All right. So first up, we have.
Welcome in. No, back. Okay. There might have been. I remember the tapping. I remember saying, "What, like tap dancing?" Because like tapping. The first time she mentioned tapping, I thought, "Wow, tap dancing. That's really fun. It's extremely exhausting, but fun." She said, no. I said, "Oh, well, I'm kind of disappointed now." So I remember that. That was quite a while ago. I think it was last year. Anyway, so so there was that. So I kind of hover between the two things. Like sometimes I feel like I was called here for. I know it sounds very cliche. That's why sometimes I just dismiss it. Like I was called here for. I read this book, which was very, very profound. I think it might actually be on my Amazon list. Let me just see. I think it is Martin Prishtel. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I pronounce it Prishtel. And he became ashamed. There we go. I used to have it. I wish I still had it. I used to have a different cover. I used to have a hardcover of this book. This was his first book, and it's The Secrets of the Talking Jaguar, and it's his life. How he is. I think, if I remember correctly, he's part. Maybe it says here. He's part. I don't think it says here. He's part Native American Indian, like half, and I think Swedish or Czechoslovak. I don't know, something Scandinavian from what I remember. I don't remember the book exactly. I just remember the overall. I really wish I still had this book now, but I don't. He's written more, which I'd like to read some of the newer books. So this book is about his journey, where he was kind of just like floating through life, and he eventually floated down all the way down south. And this is the story of these. It reads like fiction. Literally, it reads like fiction. It's quite funny the things that happened to him. It really reads very, very well. And so this is at the end of it. He gets down. I won't just spoil it for people who are going to read it, but he gets down to Guatemala eventually, which is one of the parts of the Maya, where the area the Maya were in. And eventually bumps into a shaman, and the shaman says to him, "Well, how what took you so fucking long?" Which was very funny. So sometimes I feel like my life is a little bit like that. But then I think, okay, maybe it's just like wishful thinking. But regardless, I like being in the area. I do like being here. I don't know. I don't feel like I'll ever really feel like I'm at home because I've never really had a home, and my whole life there's never been settled, which is really annoying. But I suppose anywhere in the world would feel like home. It would be here in the Central America part. I call it Central America because I'm in the Central America section of Mexico. That's why I call it Central. I know Mexico is technically in North America, but it's like Belize is like, I don't know how far Belize is from the border, and that's Central America. So this area, hold on, for you to go like this, I think that part that goes out to Cuba, that part is all Central America technically, in terms of the land mass. And I really like this area, so that's how I kind of ended up in this area. Also, Terra Mama it's all her fault. She did a reading like a long time ago now, I don't know, 6 months, end of last year, I think, or beginning of this year, where she said the one card looked like a map, and she turned it on the side. So it looks like the part of. And she went to look it up because she couldn't remember basically the Gulf of Mexico. I said, well, that would probably, for some reason, that Ciudad del Carmen came into my head. So I said, and she said, oh, that's it. That's where you should go. That's where you should start. So I'm going, okay. So then I realized it's another island. It's another island. Only like really way later that I realized all these things. Oh, okay. So I'm going. I said, well, in that area, it could have been Tabasco, but I didn't think of Tabasco. And Tabasco is a lot smaller. It's spread out. It's large, but it's more urban, more rural. So I thought, okay, well, it looks like it might be common then, because I was thinking more along that way, more up towards Meridia, where Campeche City is. So I thought it might be Campeche City. That's why initially I was thinking. So that's how I ended up on an island. This one's got 2 bridges. So it works. I could swim to shore. Yeah, it's a fair swim, but I can't get off this island. Unlike when I was in Ireland, I was just stuck there, through the whole lockdowns and everything. I was just literally trapped on an island, and I was just fuming that like I was literally prevented from leaving. So I was like, so that's why I ended up here. But now, for the most part, I feel like nothing has changed. I'm still kind of going through the motions. So I don't know. I'm being pushed to do something, but whatever's pushing me in my soul, that's just not being clear. Like we're Aries, we don't like smoke and mirrors. We just like straight facts. Give the facts, That's why I don't do rituals and stuff like that. I hardly ever. I don't really do any of that kind of stuff. Mostly because I know all of it is just a human thing. It means nothing to the soul. It means nothing to the spirits. Like a lot of people will make offerings and have altars, and there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you understand it is for you, you are doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for any other entity because they don't really care. They live in a universe of energy, of where they can have whatever they need. So just say that. All right, so let's start with, unless anybody has got anything to add or discuss. I've just been prattling on for a while. We can kind of start. Queen of Wands from the Aquarian. I just remember the the shape of it. I wouldn't even be able to tell you what card it was anymore. Excuse me. I know you keep track of everything. It's quite astounding. I sometimes think I should, but I actually prefer not to keep track of any of the readings because it's always a surprise when it comes up. Whenever sometimes when the cards come up and they're the same cards or the same thing comes up, I go, wait a minute. Now it kind of triggers a memory, but other than that, I don't really remember the readings, which I prefer that way. Then the reading is like a completely new reading. And sometimes it does mirror what went before. Right, so I'm going to put this on. Basically, if there's anything you want to discuss, as I mentioned earlier, you're more than welcome to watch the chat, and we can stop it and we can discuss it. Or I might just stop it as we discuss certain things. Let me get the link. If hold on. This is the CD I was listening to yesterday. Let's get rid of that. I think it's this one. I just want to get the links. Actually, I'll do that while it's playing.
This video, I'm going to be sharing with you the truth on indigos, starseeds, and crystal children that nobody tells you. This is going to be something that shapes the way that you see yourself and how you fit into the world. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you that of understanding indigos, that of crystal children and starseeds. Understanding the differences and the similarities and the truth about the whole entire labels that we give them. Now, here is the truth, and here's where a lot of the terms come from. A lot of the terms come from understanding that we are multidimensional, which means that we exist right now in this life, the way we perceive our reality through our body, that we perceive our reality through. We perceive our life through this. However, at different levels of consciousness, we have connections to other parts of ourself because we go beyond just the physical structure that we have. Now, this is...
I got to remember to unmute myself. Hey, Mr. Weird. This is the video watch right after your awakening. Okay. I just came across this guy. I was just researching starseeds, mostly to educate myself, because to me, starseeds is just the same information. It's just, it's just a different... it's just a different package almost. My first rabbit hole. Yeah, because the Starseeds is quite a commercial thing. It's quite a popular tag. It's a topic that. Yes, Lustrous Rose. That's been my point in the previous part 1, and we never got around to any of these videos. So I thought I'd make a part 2. Is that it's not. It's not exclusivity. We are all made of the same soul matter, the same energies. So. And I found these videos are quite particularly interesting. If they start dragging on too much, I'll cancel it. But again, the idea is to have a discussion, not just to watch videos. So, but I mean, I can't speak, continuously because like I said, I'm not an expert on starseeds, but by any stretch of the imagination, I know what they're talking about. So I like to add my info in. There is a good divide of spirituality. We have light workers, and then we have those who are more on the witchy side. Yeah, I do have opinions on that, but that's not kind of really kind of the stream for that.
This is what we call being multidimensional. Now,
oh, by the way, if any of you do want to come on, like in between the videos, or whatever, and just through the guest system, you're more than welcome. Just let me know, and I'll switch it on. Hold on, always. Let me actually launch that. I'll actually do that while he's speaking.
The truth is, every single person on the planet is multidimensional. They don't just exist here. Their whole entire soul doesn't just have one little piece of it on Earth and then that's it. The truth is, we are all multidimensional, every single one of us. And being multidimensional is about understanding a couple things. One of it is that when you go to bed at night, you think that you're just going to bed at night and that you are just having these dreams that your subconscious mind shows you, when in actuality, the higher dimensional realms aren't perceivable through that of our own mind. So our mind will give us that of subconscious images or subconscious imagery of what could have happened or what we could maybe understand. But in actuality, it's beyond the 5 senses what we experience in higher dimensional states of consciousness. Now, here's the thing as well. There is a veil of forgetfulness that when we are here, we must stay focused here. So because of that, we don't remember what we do in the higher realms, what we're doing in the higher dimensions. And every single night when we go to bed, we re-emerge with that version of us. We have these dreams through our subconscious mind, and then we wake up in the morning and we don't really remember it. Some people remember more than others. That's why it also depends on our belief systems and how we perceive of this process and how open-minded we are as well. Now, when you go to bed at night, you're awake to these states of consciousness. When we are born into Earth in general, we forget who we are. We forget that we are connected to source energy, that we are unconditional love and bliss, that we are multidimensional. We forget that because part of the cool and amazing things about Earth is that this is a place of free will and that we forget who we are when we come here because part of the game, part of this reality is remembering who we are. So if you're watching this video right now, most likely you've been through some sort of spiritual awakening, or you at least have the feeling that you are beyond that of just this physical ego structure that we perceive reality through. So that is a sign right there that you are multidimensional and have these connections to these other aspects of you.
I wish I had this. OBS had the ability to mute on. I mean, it does it automatically, but like mute the mic while you're not saying anything. It's because I was banging around and doing stuff, so I thought they're not making noise. At that point, what I wanted to say was, it's not to say that other people, if you haven't had an awakening, okay, it doesn't mean that you don't have. Everybody has the same inherent abilities, because we all come from the same source. We all have the same energy matrix, which I call the spiritual world, is the matrix. So if you're feeling, oh well, I'm just not a starseed, no, that's not true. We are all, and that's what some of the people get into on these videos, which is why I wanted to stop there. Just at that point, he's not saying that you have to have had this awakening before you can have all this information. No, this is the same. This is true for everybody. It's like the ability to find information, which is what we do through cards, through tarot, through cartomancy, through touching, clairsentient, all of these things. Everybody has these abilities. Some just use them more. So it looks like they have a gift. I dislike the word gift because it implies a sense that only the gifted. Some block them out. Yeah, some of them go, oh, it's too scary, so they just block it out. It's skill, exactly. It's skills, not a gift. It's like we all have legs. We are able to, unless we don't have legs, of course. Excuse, just scratch that one out. But if you have legs, you're if to walk. They're functional. It's not it's not a special gift. It's not a special gift bestowed upon starseeds or the spiritual. It's just that the more spiritual people, more evolved souls, find it very difficult to forget. So the information creeps in a lot sooner. Sometimes as soon as a child, it's there from that. Sometimes it's also a choice that the soul makes, that they want to remember very early on. It's a different experience. So again, as Lustrous Rose was saying, this is not a gift that's bestowed on the few special. It's a skill you develop. And you develop not by learning the meanings of the tarot cards. You develop it by developing intuition. This is why you've seen me lately, those of you that come onto my tarot streams, I don't even use cards that have meanings anymore. I use the Dixit cards. I've just been using Dixit cards. There's no meanings for them. They are just game cards. And that's what I use. That's what I'm using now. So the point is, you can learn the tarot, you can learn the meanings of the tarot, but if you stay on that, then you're just playing. Well, you're special in the sense that everybody's special. And so that means that no one's special and everyone's special. So the gift's not a gift. It's a tarot that he's learned. It's a tarot, isn't it? It's a skill that he's learned. Tarot has two things: the traditional sense of it, the intuition part of it. Yes, exactly. So most of us will start with the traditional meanings of things. So that's why these have no meanings, because there are no meanings. There are no meanings. It's 84 cards that are designed for the Dixit game, and they have no meanings. They mean nothing. They come to mean something to me, but when I saw them, I wanted them. I knew they would work for me because So I normally use Cartomancy, which I don't even have a pack here. I mix everything up now. I just use normal cards. These are my cheapest deck, which is always on my desk. So it doesn't matter what you use. I actually wrote a book, which I haven't finished, on Cartomancy. So there's a system. Yes, the divination idea is to divine knowledge. Is to get that knowledge. So most of what we use is a prop, whether we use. I once threw crystals. Exactly. That's the point. We laugh. We laugh because it just seems, in the tarot world, it just seems absolutely ridiculous. But this is why I use the Dexa cards. First of all, no one knows what they mean because there's no meanings. There are no meanings. There's no booklet. It literally it's just a pack of cards designed to stimulate your imagination. That's what I like about them. There's no preconceived ideas at all. It's part of the reasons why I don't really use tarot, because tarot came from cartomancy. In cartomancy, I have my own system, which is it's not that far off what I call I wouldn't say official, but the actual system of numerology, etc. I mean, I use the I Spy cards once. Really, I don't know what they are, but they sound fascinating. I'm not fascinated by any kind of cards that just are not tarot cards. They have absolutely no association to anything we know, like these. There's actually another pack I want to get. There's 1 or 2 packs of the Dexa cards. I used to have a young person used to come on here quite frequently, and she used to use Uno cards. She used to do tarot with Uno cards so the parents wouldn't find out. I'm not sure. We never got into the discussion of like how exactly she did it. She was, like a typical teenager, very hyper. So it was bouncing all over the channel. Yeah, but it was fascinating, so it resolved the issue. She doesn't have to have a set of tarot cards because the parents just saw her playing with Uno cards and thought, oh, shame, she needs a friend. Meantime, she was doing tarot, So absolutely, this is what this is as well. For those of you who haven't seen it, that's what some of the cards look like. They're just purely fanciful cards. So you have to come up with it. You have to get the message. And what I like about this is it challenges you to actually, because you can't read these cards. There's nothing to really read. You can get a picture from them. You can get a message from them sometimes. But for example, there's no lover's card. There's one that I kind of associate with it. I expect it to come up if the answer is something to do with romance, lovers, partnerships, etc. Again, it's about the pictures as a catalyst for intuition, absolutely. But if you get too stuck on the paper, on the cards, then you're not being as intuitive as you can. So anyway, that was just what I had a little discussion about. It's not a gift. It's a skill that you develop. And we all have the ability for it. It's not like, yes, it's hard work because you've got to break through the veil of forgetfulness. While you're doing just normal cards, doesn't matter which system you're using. While you're straight up just doing that system, like tarot, and you memorize the cards, and you just work on that base level. For me, I have the thing of clear smelling. Okay, for me, it's more clairsentient, so I tend to just sense things. These days, I also just I've always just had thoughts that came into my mind. So I just repeat those. So sometimes the person doesn't even reply. Sometimes I feel like it might make sense sometime down the future. I have no idea what it means. So I usually just repeat. Sometimes I get into trouble. I say certain things like, I'll never forget the day I said, oh, like a harem. He said, oh, I was part of a harem once. I go, oops. Okay. Some things you should not just blurt out. So it's just a way, it's just the type of skill that we kind of gravitate towards as in the human form. It's all energy, it's all the same energy. What we are doing is we are tapping into the energy. We're not even tapping in because we are the energy. We are just stopping and listening or watching or viewing or feeling or sensing or smelling, whatever it is. We just stop and we listen to it. I just generically use the word listen. And that is the intuition. That develops your intuition. And being open to tarot, absolutely. Because most people, like I was on a Discord server, which I thought would be a great place to learn stuff. And I realized, no, it's just a bunch of people playing with tarot cards. They don't want to learn intuition. They don't want to do they're card collectors. And most of them, they don't actually, and I'm nothing against collecting decks, but they literally, for the most part, like a discussion started and I was quickly shut down. So I said, well, this is not for me, because if you cannot discuss things, if you have to stay on safe topics and you cannot discuss things, then there's nothing to be learned. Then it's literally just a bunch of kids playing with cards. Some people only go into one facet of the occult. Yeah. See, for me, I'm beyond all of that. So I kind of just do anything that stimulates my intuition. That's why I now will mix all. I basically on longer spreads, when I do a longer spread, I mix every one card from different systems like the Lenormand, Tarot, the Dixit now, Cartomancy. I just mix it all in because you can't. It literally pushes you out of your comfort zone. Like I always say, I do it to torture myself, and then I get a reading. Oh my God, how am I going to interpret this one? And then that's when the messages tend to arrive. All right, let me carry on.
So another little thing I'll say as well is a lot of times when we think about our spirit guides, we think that they are other spirit guides, other souls from other lives. They may be. However, at the same time, some of our spirit guides may actually be other versions of us in higher states of consciousness. You could call it your higher self. You could call it just different versions of you. But we think in a way that they're separate when actually their best interest, our well-being is part of their best interest as well, because we're all connected. So it's an interesting way of looking at it, but when you start to see it as that, you start to also integrate more of yourself back into yourself. So in general, what's happening right now on the planet is that there is...
And that's the thing. We also need to get past the mythology, the human mythology of all these things. Because like he's just said, that's why I was laughing, because I've been saying this for ages and people just look at me, you don't know what you're talking about. I talk to my guides all the time. I said, yeah, you think you're talking to your guide. Like I don't talk to guides. I sometimes will talk to one guide who was a living woman who died in 2016. I think she died. She was my kind of teacher, kind of my only teacher in 4 years ago. I actually have a recording of the first reading she did for me, which I listened to. I actually played snippets on the channel from 23 years ago. So I know when she's there, okay. But I don't talk to guides. In fact, she pissed off and she said to you, stop trying to talk to dead people and listen to yourself. He knows everything you need to know. And she pissed off and she went off on another adventure. She was back again the other day. So that's what I'm also trying to say. And so many people are hung up on this thing of talking to guides and talking to angels and spirits, and talk to your soul. That's the energy you can most trust is yourself. And that's what he's talking about. All the characters are just human created faces, absolutely. And as I've said before, and I wish I had it yet, that's in storage as well. She got into a point where she started drawing guide drawings, and she couldn't fucking draw to save her life. And neither could the little girl that she used when she did the guide. She couldn't draw either. She was not very good. But it didn't matter. And it was quite, and interesting enough, like I would give suggestions because I was an artist. And I would give it just kind of suggestions, little things like when I'd see her doing something, I thought, if you do this, it'd make the eye look much, much realistic. And then like a week later, I'd see her say, look, do you see little girls now following your advice and actually drawing like what you suggested? It was quite amusing. And so I've lost track of. Oh yeah. So when she did my guide drawing, it was more like really like a reading. The guide drawing was just something to focus on, something to give the person to take home. They felt like they got something out of the deal, And she said, "There's not much of a face on your guide drawing, but you understand." I said, "Yeah, I understand." She said, "You don't need a face." I said, "Yeah, no, I know." So she just kind of, there's almost nothing on the guide drawing per se. There's a couple of symbols, a little bit of symbolism, and that's it. Because there's no need to put a face to it. This is what I keep trying to encourage people: is let go of the human attachment to human characteristics. Okay. The soul does not have human characteristics. The soul has whatever characteristics it wants to have. Okay, it manifests and creates its own little worlds and dreams and visions, and this is one of them. This existence is one of them. So it's very real to us, but that's on purpose. It's supposed to feel very real because that's the experience the soul wants to have. Is this very real, tangible, physical reality? So I suppose from that point of view, it's not exactly wrong to believe in guides and goals, angels and golden beings and things like that. But I feel like it distracts it becomes a crutch, and it detracts from becoming more intuitive, more more in touch with what is real. I mean, the thing about talking to my soul is the fact that my soul is very justice orientated, like someone told me, finding the balance of my scales is important. Yeah. Also, there's also this is people don't want to hear this. We see until we are really being fully intuitive, we are, and even when you are, and Edna was a very good example of this. She was my guide. Well, she's my guide. Well, she is my guide sometimes. She was very guilty of this. As human beings, we are very subjective. So even when we are being very intuitive and we are getting messages from the other side, which I don't believe is the other side, it's all one thing, we are still interpreting them. It's like people believe in the third eye. To me, I don't pay much attention to the third eye, because the third eye is like a projector. For me, then everything comes in. If you technically want to look at it, comes into the crown chakra and into your consciousness, your actual human consciousness, and then it's projected onto the third eye. The third eye seeing what you are interpreting in the sense. Yes, I know that some of this conversation is foreign or seems illogical or crazy or whatever to some people. I understand, but a lot of it comes with when you get in touch with yourself. Yeah, no, I agree, Terra Mama. Yeah, we need to bridge the gap to get people to. I do agree, except that I find that by and large, it creates a comfort zone. It creates a crutch. And I find people constantly going to different tarot streamers, trying to connect with their aunties and uncles and the grandparents. It's like, and I say to them, I don't say anything anymore. It's not my place anyway. It's not my place to say anything. Those I call them people. Those guides have lives. They're not there for you to harass continuously chatting to them. They have lives. Like Edna's not here today. She might if I call her, but then she'll come in. She'll be pissed off because I've called her. Like, and I don't have any reason to talk to her. Because she's off on an adventure. That's her spirit. I used to call it the Israeli dragon. So she doesn't live. She doesn't hover around me all the time. She's here when I need her. If I call her like I did a year ago, and I hadn't realized she'd actually died because we hadn't spoken for many years. Clearly, because she was dead. And I literally went looking for her, and I realized she had died. And then she actually came. Anyway, so that's my only thing is I don't want to create, because I see a lot of this online, is people are in a comfort zone and they're talking to their aunties and their uncles, and it's like, that's not the point of our life. It's not our point to keep contacting the dead. You can if you want to. The point is to live this experience. And if you are contacting them, you are speaking to them, which is a valid thing, okay? Learn something from it and let them go. Just let them go. Some do hover. Some of them are very, very protective. They almost live vicariously through their relatives or through their soul families. They literally do. There are some people some spirits that literally do that. But that is their learning curve as well. They need to let go and go on with their evolution and their, while at any point when it's soul or incarnate, when we are not concentrating on ourselves, we are kind of avoiding evolution in a way. Some people might need closure once they get, yes, absolutely. That's what I think is very useful about it. Unless you're a person who does ancestor work, I cried over my uncle's death so much. And then finally he came through and said, look, stop it. Yeah, that's the point. Like, and if so it's like, if you keep calling them, they're going to get pissed off. They're going to come, listen, okay, I'm here. Okay, you've called me. Like, I'm here. Okay, let it go now. We're not dead. We're still here. We're still with you. We're just not like on top of you. It's not like, but even if you think about when they're living, okay, you don't, unless you live in the same house and you see each other all the time, like you go visit them. You don't live over there all the time. Yes, I do agree with that. I usually just get human spirits, ancestors, if they have something to say. Yeah. And terrible. And to address that, and I know 99% of people will argue with me. When your soul wants to get a message, or a spirit guide for that matter, when they want to get a message, they will let you. They don't come through and say, I'm your auntie. No, they don't say any of that. They let you believe whatever you want to believe. If the message will come through and you will listen, they don't care. To them, it's not lying. They are passing on a message. They never specifically said, I am X, Y, Z. The person just assumes. If the message can be passed on that way, then that will be, and then the person will just believe it. The downside is the person doesn't actually pay attention to the message, is just enjoying the conversation with the dead. Then nothing is really learned. Captain, in the end, the acceptance comes from within yourself, though. Yes. Everything comes from within, because ultimately your connection, you see, like when they say you are your universe, you are. This is why I always say, if you want to change the world, change yourself. Because when you change your universe, you change your world, you change. Having said that, I feel like I've been stuck of not being able to make the changes. But when you change yourself, you change your world. So your world changes. So when your world changes, other people that you share like society or space with, they start to see the changes in you, and they start going, wait a minute, look, he's happy, he's this, he's that. They be the beacon for other people. And that's when I say one person does change the world, and that person starts with you. So it all comes from within. Like most of us get stuck on fixing the world, the planet. We are already in the global economic collapse. Like we're trying to fix it. There's no point in fixing it. First of all, it can't be fixed. It's too late. It could have been fixed 5 years ago when I really began pressing people to start doing something about it. Now it's too late. So, but we can change ourselves by doing things for ourselves. And that's what Captain was saying. In the end, acceptance comes from within yourself. So everything comes from within. So if you are talking to guides and things from outside of yourself, know that you could be doing it from within yourself. You kind of should be, which is what the only guy that I really know, she got pissed off and she told me to stop. Listen to yourself. I'm out of here. All right, let's just rose. I mean, I have had the dead come through to me to deliver a message, and it's like a train wreck because I'm not in a fully developed medium, and they had to stop by and say something for a reason. It's like I am the mediumship version of McDonald's. It's a drive-through. Well, some people literally are. They literally are. They are like drive-throughs for spirits, purely because that is kind of a skill that you've developed. Like, you know, it's just highly developed in you. Like for me, it's not a very high developed skill. I sometimes not there. I don't understand what they're saying to me. Like I've got to find a medium. The tarot drive-through. Well, that's a different type of tarot drive-through that I always bitch about. But it is like Barney. Barney's a lot like that. They just like to rock up and say, okay, just stop everything. You often interrupt what I'm saying because I've got something to say. So some people are like that. For me, it's not so much. They arrive, I can feel them, and I'm going, well, I don't know what you're saying. I don't speak. It's kind of a block with me as well, a little bit. But I need cards, and then I need to kind of almost meditate on it. That's why I use the cards, because the cards give some things for people to look at, and it gives me like a breather where I can try and understand what the hell is the message that somebody's trying to pass on. There was an Asian, she hasn't been here for a long time. There's an Asian lady, and her mother wanted to know if it was something to do with her grandfather, her husband, her dead husband. And he came through and he was very strong. I mean, I don't know what he was saying. It just kind of, it was just asking questions through the cards, and he was kind of like a yes or a no type of thing. It's a small world after all. So that was quite, that we were all in tears. It was quite an amazing experience. Yeah, Yeah, I haven't had one of those for a while now. It's been very quiet tarot-wise. That's why I've cut down the readings to just Saturdays, because it's really pretty quiet. I don't really get many readings anymore. I think it's just kind of the thing. Twitch goes through phases. This is one of those phases where people are out, specifically in summer, they're out enjoying. Yeah, they are quite tightly knitted. So it's quite amusing. Like I've had several experiences where like you're doing a reading for somebody, you say, "Oh, I've got to go to bed now," and then you read out to somebody else, and there they are asking the same question. I'm going, "Oh, crikey, seriously." I don't mind if people leave. Just don't tell me. Just don't lie. No, I'm going to bed. Just say, okay, have a nice evening. I'll be off, and I'll say, okay, bye. You enjoy your evening. Come back soon. All right, so now I'm going to play this on a little bit. So I'm just going to prattle on.
There is a shift in consciousness happening. There is a raise in vibration. Now, if you want more on also what I'll be sharing with you today with indigos, that of starseeds, and that of crystal children, if you want more of that, you can also study the work of Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon is somebody that founded a technique that is called QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, that brings people into the deepest brainwave states of activity to where they're in hypnosis and they're being interviewed by Dolores or by a QHHT practitioner, and they're guided through certain questions, and what happens is the higher self and the subconscious mind comes through and answers any question that is being asked. And the interesting thing is that Dolores Cannon has done this with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and she's found many consistencies. One of the consistencies is so many people are here right now for this shift in consciousness that's happening on the planet. We are shifting from what we could call a 3 or a 4D level of consciousness into a 5D level of consciousness. We are going from duality and separation into more of a connection to our heart and into understanding that we're all connected. From what I understand and from what Dolores works also explains, is this is one of the only times that has ever happened where a whole entire planet has gone through this shift in body, or we're in body right now. Whereas in the past, this has happened more through like the Mayans, more through where a certain civilization may have quote unquote left, but we're doing it here, we're staying here, but what we're doing is we're raising our vibrational frequency to a new state of consciousness, where we in a way merge with our higher selves and we start to exist in a higher state or a higher frequency. So
it's not so much that we merge, it's more that we begin to realize, like I was just talking about now, the astro dice, the different facets, is that we begin to realize, and that's when you start talking to your soul, is that this physical consciousness is one of the facets of our soul. It's one of the lifetimes. It's one of the personalities, if you want to put it that way. And it's not we merge with it. We are never removed from the soul. We've just forgotten that the soul is there, and the merging is kind of not the right word. It's probably right. It has to do with summer. Yeah, I think if I remember last year as well, this was a particularly quiet area. A period on Twitch.
So that is something that we are going through right now on the planet. Thousands and thousands of people that have been through this QHHT work have said that. And that is what and why we are here. But remember, part of it is we forget who we are. And the other part of it is we start to remember who we are. And we go through this multidimensional understanding that we are so much more than we can imagine. So if you're here right now, then you're already awake to that. Now, let's get a little bit into understanding indigo, starseeds, and crystal children. Now, the way that Dolores Cannon puts it in her work is that there was 3 main waves of what are called volunteers. Most likely, you're watching this right now, you were and are a volunteer. You volunteered to come to Earth right now to help to wake other people up. Now, the reason I say that is because if you're into this information right now, then you're already ahead of the curve. Because there's a lot of people that won't be open to this, or that it may be a while before they actually come around to this kind of information. But you're on the leading edge. And
so in a way, it's the same thing that is done to us via government, via socialization, where we are brainwashed into something. What he's kind of saying is, I just use the word because I like it, because it shocks people. We are in a way brainwashing people to wake up, to stop living in this centuries-old nightmare. What we are living in right now is a dystopian nightmare. And people don't see it. They go, no, things will get better. No, they're not going to get better. They've been progressively getting worse for centuries. Okay, so we need to wake out of this nightmare.
The waves of volunteers are understanding that, first off, we wanted to be here to go through this transition. So there's also a benefit to our spirit as well as helping the planet and helping other people to wake up. Now, in general, what makes Starseeds different from quote-unquote everyone else is that starseeds are just much more aware of their connections to other star systems. So for example, there may be the Pleiades is a very common one, Sirius, you've got that of Arcturus, you got that of Lyra, you've got Vega, you've got all these different labels for different star systems, which they all have beings that are of a higher dimensional frequency that exist there. And these beings, many of these beings, are also other versions of us. We have part of us maybe incarnated into those systems as well, right now in the present moment. And when you go to bed at night, you're awake to those states of consciousness. However, the idea is understanding that we exist here now, but starseeds are aware that they have other connections as well. And this is about understanding and acknowledging that. However, the thing that I see with a lot of people and a lot of starseeds do is a lot of starseeds will start to identify so much with the other planet or the other existence of them that it takes away from them being here right now in the present moment. And the key is understanding and becoming at peace with, we chose to be here for a certain reason right now. And maybe that reason is just to wake up and help other people wake up, is to raise our vibrational frequency. But the key is understanding that there is a purpose for being here, and sometimes it doesn't help to get too entrained. Yes, it's good to have the awareness. Yes, we may have parallel lives on these different planets, and then these are higher states of consciousness as well, where we have more ability. Here we have time, space, reality. If we want to manifest something, we put an intention, we take action, and then eventually we see it come to fruition. In higher realms, there's times when things just happen instantly, because we're in a higher vibrational state. And this is about noticing that, yes, we have those existences. Starseeds in general are considered people that are very aware of those existences. So if you have a feeling that you have also a home somewhere else, maybe you feel like Earth really isn't home.
So the starseeds, just quickly before we carry on, the starseeds, think of it more like a level of awareness of the remembering, as opposed to a species or a group or an association. Those are all human and earthly things. It's more like a sense of awakening. So I've always likened this incarnation on the earth as a school. So some people know this is a school. Some people know this is an experience for other souls to evolve in. So that's what he's talking about. A lot of people have come here to help other people evolve. Let me carry on.
Home for you. That's a common thing that many starseeds will say. And it's about just recognizing, first off, that when it comes to starseeds, understand that everyone is multidimensional. However, if you're watching this video, then most likely you are a starseed. You are somebody that volunteered to come here to help raise the vibration of the planet, and you have the awareness that you have many different also connections throughout the cosmos. Now, sometimes also people with this will get a little bit confused and think that it's like they can only have one connection. Like, oh, I'm Pleiadian in a parallel life. That's it. No, you have that, and you still have other connections as well. Now, the degree of connection will depend upon how much it resonates with you. It'll depend on a couple different factors. But it's about just being aware that you are multi-dimensional. You have many, many existences, because your soul is not just this big. Your soul is much more vast than you can imagine. So that helps the process. The thing with starseeds is about understanding that it's still about integrating in this life. It is still about integrating. It is still about being here now. We're going through this transition. A lot of people will they want to escape and go back home. Well, we're here right now. And the thing is that it's going to get good. It's going to get amazing. Yes, things are going to continue to fall apart, but this is part of the process. So starseeds in general, you could say that crystal children and indigos are starseeds. Starseeds is a more general understanding of it. Then we can move into indigos. Now, indigos have a certain vibrational frequency, and in a way, they came mainly in the 80s and the 90s. Some people would say that I would be considered an indigo. However, once again, it's a label. Let's understand that when it comes to indigos, the way that Dolores Cannon explains it is that there was a certain vibrational frequency that indigos bring into the world that helps this change to really start to happen. And when we look at that, we can see that also indigos are more activated than a lot of the older generation. Now, we don't have to get, there's actually 3 waves that Dolores talks about. One of the waves is actually people that are in their 50s to 70s right now. They were one of the first waves because they had to they had it really hard because they had to come into a very dense place, which is Earth, back in the 40s, 50s. However, the idea is that they came in to lay down some of the framework, some of the energy patterns, and even if they weren't actually aware of this information, and then years and years later we had the second wave, and you could say the second wave was like the 80s and the 90s. And the second wave was like the indigos, and the indigos were bringing in more of that frequency, were more activated. So because they're more activated, they're less prone to tradition and the old ways of doing things, and they knew that they have kind of a certain purpose here. You may also be an indigo if you feel like you have you're kind of a rebel, like you want to change the system. I know for me, especially when I went through my spiritual awakening, I was like, I just saw the current structure. I was like, why didn't I learn this metaphysics stuff in high school? Why did I know that your thoughts create your reality? Why did I have to learn that from like a movie, And I was kind of angry for a while. And some indigos may also get angry at the system and the way it is, like the government, this, that. The key is to observe it and to let it go. And that's at least what I've learned in my own life. Now, when we look at this, a lot of indigos came here and are rebels. Rebels, they want to change the system. They know that they have a purpose for changing the system. And these, the indigos came in knowing that and bringing through that vibrational frequency. Understand that when you're going around, in the way that Dolores Cannon explains
it. Lazarus Rose, well, would you be able to handle 20 husbands? And I'm not talking about sexually. I'm just saying, would you have the time for that? That's the point. So it becomes. You mean 20 husbands not at the same time? You mean one after the other? Or did you mean all at the same time? 20, that's doable. Having 20 life partners per se in a lifetime is not that difficult. At the same time, you wouldn't do anything in your life except be with 20 people all the time. There would be no development. You would just literally be compartmentalizing your life between 20 people. This is why you don't actually have many true friends. You have many acquaintances which you see from time to time and you bump into time to time. Even your family. If you have a large family, you don't get to speak to any of them except on occasion. See, that's the thing. All I would do is make sure they're true friends together. But then they're not husbands. They are. It's more. You see, that was my point. A husband is a very human thing where you have sexual relationships. Well, I don't know, most of them don't anymore, which is kind of sad. But there's there's different elements of it. There's a family-based thing. When you have 20 husbands, you have to give them all equal time. So you don't have enough time in a day to have 20 husbands. With 20 friends, that becomes like a commune. That becomes like a group of like-minded people. So I do understand that, but the term husband would not be possible because I'm not talking about legally. You wouldn't have time to manage 20 close people on a human level.
As well, you may be walking around the supermarket and your vibrational frequency is affecting everyone that you're around, whether they are aware of it or not, and that could have a profound impact. But you see, sometimes we think, oh, I got to be making YouTube videos to do something, or I got to be putting myself out there. You just being is bringing in a certain frequency, and by so many people being here right now, I just found out the other day there's over 8 billion people on the planet now. That is a lot of people, and there's so many people that want to be here right now to be part of this shift in consciousness. It's not just that we're all reproducing so fast, it's mainly that there's so many souls that come here as well, because if there weren't the souls that wanted to come here, then there'd be something that would happen to where that wouldn't be able to reproduce as fast. So it's about understanding that there's different layers to this. Indigo children are ones that may be right now in their 20s or their 30s, and it's about understanding that came here to make this powerful change and may have more of a rebel mentality. And when we then look at that of crystal children, the general idea for crystal children, that crystal children are just very activated. Those would be like people that were born in like 2000 and up. So they may be like 18 to 20 years old right now, and even younger. And the thing is when it comes to all these different waves, they are just more not conditioned than other generations. So they're more...
Yeah, they have less filters. So for them, it's not natural to be so societally shaped.
Activated. So even if we look at some older people that may be not even into this information, their soul, their spirit is still multidimensional. They just might not be at the place to where they're activated or they understand it. Whereas the kids coming in right now are very, very activated, and honestly, they are the change of the future, because their frequency is going to overpower that of the old traditional ways of doing things. They're going to be much more progressive, and crystal children, you could think of that as just very multi-dimensional. Think of a crystal. Crystal has many different facets of it, many different vibrational frequencies in it. Same thing with the crystal children. They are much more aware, much more awake, much more activated, and much less socially conditioned, and they know that this is a time of change, even at a subconscious level. And if you're in any of these categories, let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you have a purpose that goes beyond that of just something small, trivial in your life? Do you feel like your purpose goes beyond that? I know that when I was 5 or 6 years old, I felt like I had a purpose that went beyond just whatever was going on in society, having some type of desk job. I knew it. I've known it from...
I don't know. I always think about this one. For me, that's true, but isn't it true of everybody? I mean, this is a point that's often brought up in these videos. But isn't it simply true of everybody? Don't we all aspire to be more? Like little kids sometimes aspire to be princesses and kings and queens and princes and princesses, and to just be more than their boring little lives of just suburbia. So I always feel like this is I know it's true of me, but I feel like it could be true of everybody. Anyway, not to to mock it or to. It's just a thought. It was just a fear. Once I had a second. Yeah, to love love is not limited. It's just literally the amount of time that you can spend with children, and by the same same whatever the words are, by the same token, husbands is the association of a husband is that you do spend a lot of time with that person, like very personal time. So that means if you had 20 husbands, for example, or even if you had more than 2 or 3, I would say, you don't have time, for example, to do art, to do knitting, to do crochet, to do cooking, to do gardening, to do anything, because your time is spent divided between 20 different people. So what you're doing is you're scheduling meetings with 20 different people, never really spending proper quality time with them. And that's why I think polygamy, after a certain amount of people, becomes a commune. It's just a commune. It's no longer, I mean, it could still be polygamous, I suppose, in a sense, but it's not in that kind of bond that you can have if you have a smaller polygamy or monogamy. I find there's too much distraction in large groups of people because there's too many people to talk to. So you go to bed tired and you don't have time to work on yourself. Uh, 20 would be too much. 3 would be fine, but I have 20 in 1 with my brain. Yeah, but but this is the thing, is when you are with the right person, then it's enough. Or with the right, say, 2 people. I don't feel like you need to have, a harem. A harem is really about ego. If you think about harems, it was about slavery and about ego. It was about, look at me, I got lots of wives, or a lot of husbands, whatever epoch we are looking at. It was really just about that. Because quite honestly, the person who owns a harem seldom had time to sleep with all of them or to spend any kind of time with them. Often these polygamous type of relationships, in the more traditional sense, were about sharing workload. in a sense. At some points, we have a shortage of one sex. So there'll be, more of one in particular areas or whatever. So it just kind of made sense. Instead of, one couple being happily married and the others, whatever sex is in excess, just being miserable and not having any, then forming a polygamous community would then make sense. I also say that quality over quantity, and this is kind of where more and more I've headed towards that point of view from many different perspectives. Like, for example, when we just strive strictly for absolutely physical things, don't get me wrong, I still love physical things. It's just that you can't take them with you. So if you, for example, let's spend your entire life working towards owning a Ferrari, and you never get to enjoy it because you can't drive it to work because there's too much peak hour traffic and it's too expensive on petrol, it's a completely pointless pursuit. You've attained it, but you don't even take the experience with. Your soul doesn't take the experience with it because you never have time to drive it. You don't have the money. So that's where your goals change to the experience that you're actually having, opposed to the experience you would like to buy. For me, it's not ego. It's that some people have the same ultra drive to express love, to express affections. Yeah, but there's more to life than just sex. Trust me, I like it. I do like it. I haven't had any for a long time. I do like it. I've got nothing against it. But there is more to life than just the sex. You see, that's it's only one facet of the experience, is sex. Sex is only one facet. On a human level, every relationship is based on four what I call the four pillars, four foundations, four corners of a successful relationship. And that's spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental. To have equal amounts of connection on those things, you need the time. That's why when you get to commune level polygamy, it's just so watered down that you just have a community. You don't build proper relationships with a few individual people. It's the gestures of love when I say love is not sex. Now, mind you, I know that every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinks love, they think sex. This is true. But on a human level, a quarter of your relationship, talking strictly, obviously, an amorous relationship, is physical. And it's not just sex, but it's physical. It's the hugging, it's the contact. There's a body language. There's an additional language that you learn with someone. If you don't have time to spend enough time with that person, you don't actually learn that. You tend to it tends to be an acquaintance. That's the difference between acquaintances and people you actually form solid bonds with. Yes, love can exist without bonds, but you don't need to be married to them. This is the circle that I always come back to. You can have those relationships with people without actually them being a husband per se, without the label. I'm not really someone. I don't think I've never been one for polyamorous relationships. I'm not against it, but would be first of all be a closed polyamorous relationship, and it would be a small polyamorous relationship. Because I don't see the point to it. And I'm not being facetious. I don't see the point to it. I can be friends with people. I don't need to have that extra commitment to all these people. Secondly, I like my time. I also like my time. I like my time. If I had 2 or 3 partners, I wouldn't have fucking time for myself. And that will make me very grumpy. So that's the thing. And that's my only point about the 20 husbands. I think by the time you have more than 2 to 3 partners, you are diluting yourself. You've diluted yourself of all spiritual time for spiritual matters. And again, I always argue and say that we're not here to be totally spiritual, but that's part of it. Anyway, I'm not going to regurgitate those thoughts. That's just my opinion. I feel like sometimes less is more because you can focus on specific things. Like when you have a general you have a general knowledge about everything. You don't ever specialize in anything. So you have, for me, that applies to relationships with people. When you have a lot of what you perceive close relationships with a lot of people, you don't really, because you just simply do not have time. Now, we're not talking about the soul level. We're not talking at soulmates level. Because soulmates, you have many friends. There's no limitation. There's no time per se. But as a human being, we are limited with our perceptions, with our mind, with our waking moments, etc., of the time that we can spend with different people. That's the only thing I have against it. That's really just the part, is that it's very difficult to build any kind of meaningful relationships without them being diluted if you have too many of them.
From a very young age.
And also, relationships change. That I don't also believe that you should be tied to someone for the rest of your life. If two people want to be together and it works, sure, why not? But there are many people who are in miserable relationships who should have gotten divorced a long time ago, and they don't, because this weird idea of once you're married it's forever. I said no, there's no such thing. Well, it is forever in a sense. The existence is forever, but that slavery to a commitment that you no longer want to be in, it's so removed from the term unconditional love. Unconditional love, literally on a soul level, means that when someone wants to leave, you let them leave. They go off on their adventure and then they come back. On a soul level, you're never disconnected. It's only on a human level where my ex, and now we're not together anymore. But on a soul level, if you were together on the soul level, you will always be together on the soul level, because there's no separation. Well, that's good. That's very good. And that's the point, is our personal relationships, like our very deep and personal relationships, should be with people that we actually have this deep connection with. And unfortunately, most people settle because society pushes you to be married and have children and a mortgage and car repayments. They push you into these traps. Okay, it's on purpose, but that's a discussion for the controversial discussions that we have. That people do not get into a relationship because it's someone that they really have this desire to be in a close proximity with this person. They just do it not to be alone. And I think that is very, very sad.
Age. And it's just this feeling that you may have, that you have more of a purpose than you can even imagine. That your purpose is here to wake up the planet, is to start to spread this information, or just your vibration. Doesn't mean you need to go out there and tell everyone how to live or that this is going on, but you can at least be in your truth, do what you're passionate about, and as you do what you're passionate about, that becomes an energy state that people like to be around. So the basis of everything I've shared with you, though, is all these 3 different categories, 3 different ways of identifying ourselves. The truth is it doesn't really matter. We are here to make change on the planet. You have a purpose that goes beyond that of what you can imagine. It has to do with raising the frequency of the planet, and the best way you do that is by first off raising the frequency of yourself. Let go of the past social conditioning. Allow yourself to be in a high vibrational state. Understand that you are so much more than you can imagine. So much more. That you think this is who you are right now, and you are so much more. You have different connections. When you go to bed at night, you're awake to these higher states of consciousness. You don't necessarily remember in the morning, but it's about being aware that that's who you are. And the more that you tap into this, is the more that you're going to be feeling in a higher vibrational state, and you're going to be understanding this process. But with any time we have labels, it creates separation. Because then it's like, oh, well, you're a starseed, you're an indigo, I'm a crystal child, I'm a rainbow child, all these different names. It doesn't really make a difference. The point is, you are multidimensional. You're much more than you can imagine. You are here for a purpose right now to help wake up the planet, to help wake up those around you in a way of just by you being yourself, not by needing to shove this information or anything like that. But the main basis is understanding your multidimensionality and not creating barriers between other people as well. Like, oh, I'm aware of this and those people. I know I developed a spiritual ego for a while when I went through my awakening in 2012. When I went through it, I was looking around at other people and I'm like, oh, they're asleep. They don't know who they are. They don't know this. And it creates the separation where it's harder to connect. Instead, what we can learn to do is to allow people to be as they are, have compassion for them. Everyone's on their own journey. And as we do that, we begin to integrate more into this life experience. So something else I'm creating.
And you don't have to be evangelical about it. You can just simply remove yourself from a situation. Like I've been in situations where people are talking about stuff and I'm going to say this is so trivial, or this is almost not even true, or this is so ritualistic basis that it's lost the spiritual element of it. And it's okay. You can just remove yourself from that. You don't have to. Hey, Jezza, you don't have to change people. This is not like newborn Christians. You do not have to go out there and change everybody. That's not what
Esoteric Jezza, welcome in.
This is not what the New Age movement and the whole Starseeds thing was about. It was simply about you bring the news to the table. Whoever wants to listen to it listens to it. Who doesn't want to listen to it doesn't listen to it, and it's okay. It's not optimal for people not to listen, but it's their choice.
Right now it's called the Shift Experience. It's going to help us shift to this 5D level of consciousness. It's going to be available in the next couple months. If you want to get updates on that and you want to be the first to know, they'll be in the link in the top of the description box below. You can sign up there. Also, I'm going to be doing more live Q&As on Instagram. I do them almost every single day. You can ask me questions about this. We're going to be going much more esoteric. And I post twice a day there as well, so you get native content on Instagram as well. So you'll see Instagram right here. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification gear next to the subscribe.
Yeah, right. Enough for that. This was quite long, but we'll just play part of it. I've got another video about a young man, but I thought we just kind of split them up so we're not just watching the same person over and over and over, because like his channel kind of thing or his opinion. I just liked his videos. That's why I chose these two, because he's speaking about what actually is, not this sort of mythological starseeds fantasy that people have. He's actually speaking about what it is. And pretty much I agree almost like 99% of what he's saying, except for a couple of deviations in terms of, here and there. It's very small, very minor deviations where I would kind of deviate slightly on the information. And that's why, and I thought, wow, okay, this was the kind of talk I wanted to have, so that's why I chose his videos. Let's just see. This one's very long, but we'll play a little bit of it. I'm not going to play the whole thing because I think it gets very long-winded.
Ever since my Starseed articles blew up like over the last year, I've gotten so many emails from you guys asking how do I know I'm a Starseed and which Starseed type am I? And I remember this frustration a few years ago where I knew for sure that I was a light worker, but am I a Starseed? Because there are Earth angels, rainbow children, indigo children. How do I know that I'm specifically a Starseed? And if I am a Starseed, which Starseed? That is why I'm recording this webinar, to save you years of time browsing through the internet and different articles, so that you can know by the end of this video which Starseed you are and if you are a Starseed in the first place. And make sure to watch until the end of the webinar, as I will also share with you the next steps to take.
So this is just more for information. That's what I'm just going to play a bit of it, because she had a lot of useful information, at least from what I remember the beginning part of the video. Again, as he just explained before, Aaron, there's no specific types or specific boxes. It's more of an evolution, like, I'm the oldest probably here. So like I've gone through all the phases that you guys are in, various starseed phases. And it's the evolution. That's where the information, I think the information is important or interesting, not to actually separate people into boxes.
When you know which Starseed type you are. I'm Julia, a Royal Andromedan Starseed, and ever since I found out I was a Starseed, it's been my mission to help other Starseed wake up to their divinity and their mission. We'll start by briefly going over what a Starseed is, the signs you are a Starseed, and my Starseed story. Then we'll deep dive into the Starseed types and the signs that you are that type. And then we go to how to know for sure which Starseed you are. And lastly, how to step into your Starseed mission. And we'll end with a FAQ. So get cozy, remove any other tabs you have, put your phone in airplane mode if you are using your laptop, get cozy, get a cup of tea. I have my raspberry leaf tea here, amazing. And let's do this. So first of all, what is a starseed? Starseeds are advanced souls living in human form on Earth, but their spirits originate from another planet, galaxy, or universe. A call for help was sent out into the universe to help Earth conquer the negative forces that long have been in control here and help humanity transition into the golden age, the fifth dimension. If you are a starseed, it means that you said yes to this call for help. So you are literally a galactic volunteer, like an Avenger. How cool is that? However, most starseeds are not even aware of their unique gifts and that they are not even human souls due to this veil of forgetfulness that we go through when we incarnate on a third-dimensional planet like Earth, forgetting that they are spiritual beings living a temporary human experience. Most starseeds are old souls and have lived several lifetimes on Earth to prepare for the time of ascension that we are in right now.
I think we all have, to be honest.
However, they will not know the grand mission until they have had their awakening. This awakening can be instant or gradual, but it always includes a dark night of the soul, where they temporarily go through a depressive and chaotic period in their life before they rise from the ashes and awaken. Most starseeds on Earth are from the Pleiades, Sirius, Orion, Arcturus, and Andromeda. You might think that it's pretty unlikely that you are one. However, starseeds are not rare. There are currently billions of starseeds on Earth right now, and the fact that you're hearing this makes it even more likely that you are one. Now, before we dive deep into the different starseed types, let's first go over some signs that you are actually a starseed. Now, I would say that these are the 10 most clear signs that you are a starseed, so let's first go through those. The first sign is that you are highly sensitive. You easily feel overwhelmed and drained when you are in a place with many people and with intense stimuli, like shopping malls, clubs, and networking events.
I think this is particularly important, but not just for starseeds, but for specifically people who are clairsentient or are of a sensory nature. This specifically is very true for me. It's one of the reasons why I tend to actually avoid very crowded places or very commercial places, because they tend to be filled with a very shallow, very frenetic, very disturbing energy. The energies aren't. They're very shallow. And they're not just shallow as in the sense of plastic. It's just it's what I suppose what they call low vibrational. I've had experiences where I tend to just not go to very. As soon as I'm in a crowded place these days, more and more I'm starting to feel very edgy. It starts to feel very uncomfortable, and I can't wait to get out of the closed environment, out of it, because you sense the energies of all individuals. That's the way I connect with people. And it. Yes, you can block it. Yes, you can meditate. It still takes effort. It's an effort thing. Where imagine. I always describe it like this. Imagine being in the middle of a dance floor, the music's on full blast, and you're surrounded by people shouting at you as well. And that's what it feels like with the energies.
You might also be sensitive to stimulants like coffee, alcohol, even dark chocolates. You're sensitive to scary and violent movies and video games, and make a point to avoid them. Sign number 2 is that you've always felt like you don't belong. You find it difficult to fit into groups of people, and you often felt lonely in school and at work. You probably had a few close friends that you vibed with and you could be yourself with, but you're not one of those people with hundreds of friendships. Many people are drawn to your light, but you are very picky with who you spend your time with. The next sign is that you find society hostile. You feel sad about how we are damaging the planet, the poverty, the debt-based economy, the greedy leaders, the fear-based media. You are intelligent, so starseeds are usually smarter than the average human. However, this doesn't always translate into good grades in school. In fact, many starseeds did not.
Hey, Ink. Welcome in. Also, just to quickly address that, it's
Hanky.
What you said.
He is my absolute, like, totally my hero.
I forgot what she was saying. I wanted to address. God damn it, what she just say? I forgot. Hank. Hank distracted me. Okay, man. We'll just be doing part 2 of the Starseeds the discussion. There will be. I will highlight the whole part, the important part where it's not just the beginning and the end, and then it will be added to the playlist with the first part, so anybody can go watch the 2 parts, just the actual discussion part. What was she saying? I want to address it. Okay.
Enjoy school and are not fans of Earth's school system. Next sign is that you are highly intuitive. So you make decisions based on your intuition, like what your heart tells you, rather than what your brain or logic says. The next sign is that you are a wise old soul. You always felt like you don't belong or you can't resonate with people your own age. And this made you stand out as a kid, and you might even have been bullied in school because of it.
So that kind of makes sense from the perspective, like I always say to people, the every experience that the soul goes through is to learn, to evolve, the evolution of soul, as I always call it. So every lifetime is an evolution is an opportunity for the soul to learn different experiences, to evolve. So when we talk about wise old souls, like we always think of these ascendant masters and all these things, that's all very well and good, but really what it means is it's simply somebody has had more work done, done more work over time, has had more time. That's what I meant to say. Has had more time to do more work. So in a sense, is a wise old soul because he's just been around the block a few more times. It's not that the soul has more value or is more precious, or there's no hierarchy. It's like, imagine if you sat in a library and you read all the books, then you would know all the books. If you've just gotten to the library, you discover there's a library and you start reading, you just have less knowledge than somebody else. So these wise old souls are what they talk about. Or on the planet, there's a huge amount of people, souls on the planet at the moment. There's a lot of people that have been reborn on this particular existence for this particular experience. So what they call wise old souls are simply people who know the game plan, who know what's happening here. And they are here sometimes in spirit, like your guides, sometimes in real life, like actual people who are here in the flesh, and they're trying to guide you towards you understanding what is happening here at this existence. So that's why we call them wise souls, purely because they know. They have an understanding of what is happening, and they're trying to get that across to other souls so that other souls can actually evolve quicker. Not that there's a rush, it's just that there's no point in repeating the same lessons over and over and over and over. In other words, you die, you go to the bar, and you go, oh, I'm dead. Let's go back and redo the same lesson, because this is all there is. There's more.
Sign number 7 is that you feel like you have a big mission on Earth. You feel this responsibility. That you came into this lifetime to do a certain thing, to help humanity in some way. The next sign is that you...
So that one, we all come into this lifetime to achieve a specific thing. We have a plan. Okay, the soul decides, I want to go experience a specific life with a few key elements, that like key events. Okay, that's what astrology is about. We've spoken this before. So we all have that feeling. We feel like we're here to do something because we are. It's not necessarily celestial or to help others, or sometimes we're just really here to be incredibly selfish. The soul is an incredibly selfish, from a human point of view, it's a very incredibly selfish, self-centered, really, we could say, energy, because we are here to learn and to experience specific experiences. That's our goal. Our goal is not to come here and help the world, because the soul knows that this is just a simulation. Okay, so we don't have to fix the simulation. We are just here to learn specific things. So when we get too distracted in trying to fix the world and fix the economy and fix this, we've lost an opportunity. Although that could be the experience that some souls came down to, is to go through that role playing of fixing things. That's a valid experience as well.
Are spiritual AF. You believe in God and that we are all one, but you don't adhere to any specific religion. You love talking about the supernatural and paranormal, and you keep people close
It's very
who
generic.
you can have these types of conversations with. Sign number 9 is that you have gone through a spiritual awakening and a dark night of the soul, where you just realize that you are more than this body, you are more than your name and your thoughts and your identity, the house you live in, the car you drive. You realize, wow, I'm an immortal soul, and I'm here on earth for some special reason. And the last huge sign that you're a starseed is that you feel homesick. And I'm not talking homesick to your home, like your physical home, but to the stars, that you can look up at the stars, the night sky, and just feel like a longing, like this is not your true home. And that's because it isn't.
Yeah. This one I fully understand now, and I've been going through this for specifically the last year and a half. I've been going through this, and she's right. This isn't your home. This is just, imagine you're watching Netflix and you are in the Netflix. Okay, you are in the simulation. This is what it is. And we use the word simulation purely because this is what we understand with 3D VR goggles and all of this, the virtual reality. We are in a virtual reality, unlike the one we are attempting to create in the reality. So that's why I always say to people who spend a tremendous amount of time playing games, you're playing a game within a game. Play the game, not the game within the game. Go play the game itself. The game is not the game that you're playing. It's so there is a sense that you don't belong. And I think that most people actually experience that because that is inherent to all our souls. This is not home. This is like when you've gone on a holiday, you've gone on a package tour. Like I always say, you've ordered your body. I chose to be short and now bald. This is my vehicle. This is my avatar for this simulation. Okay, and then we know this is not home because at some point the holiday ends and you have to get off the cruise ship or you have to go home and you have to hand back the hire car, which is the avatar, and then it's over. So this is not home. We do try and create homes for ourselves in this. Some people don't. They literally want to live, like nomads. That's not for me. But this is why most of us will feel that way at some point. If you stop long enough, you will feel like, I just feel like I never really belong. Unless you have a very tight-knit family and have this really wonderful family, which I'm very envious of, then you don't tend to feel this as much. But for most people, we have dysfunctional to outright really bad families. So we all tend to feel this. That's part of the reason why.
It's just temporary. Now, before we're going to
it is temporary.
Starseed races, you might be curious how I found out that I was a starseed and my journey. So I wanted to share that before we dive in.
She's a little
I've
bit
always felt different,
so
like I don't fit
that's
in.
Something
And ever since I was a little girl, I've been wise beyond my years, and because of this, I didn't enjoy playing with the other kids at school. I preferred being in my own little bubble. Many times I would pack my bags and leave home, although I was always back in time for dinner. And as an adult, this was replaced by an urge to travel and a quest to find my home. I never understood how people could be stuck in cubicles all day, and I craved freedom. One day it led me to Peru, where I did an ayahuasca ceremony and had an ego death. I realized that I'm more than this body and that we are multidimensional beings living a human experience. Just like many other people, I first came across the concept of starseeds on YouTube, and it resonated deeply. I wasn't sure I was a starseed though, since the most common sign of being a starseed I could find was paranormal experiences. I hadn't had any paranormal experiences in my life, not even in my dreams, and no psychic abilities were to be seen. One day I decided to have a starseed origin reading done on Etsy, and to my surprise I tested positive. It said I had lived on several planets, however my origin is Andromeda. I decided to do a starseed activation with a talented starseed and twin flame healer. Together with their Arcturians, she did an activation and read a channeled message to me from King and Queen Andromeda. They were telling me it was time for me to step out from the shadows and onto the stage, as I have so much to share with others, but that I have blocks and lots of doubts that I needed to clear up so I could step into my power. They told me that they would introduce themselves in my dream soon. And that same day, just before falling asleep, an extraterrestrial appeared in front of my eyes. I felt an electric current sweeping through my body and into my hands. It was so powerful that even my twin flame, who was in another country, felt it in his energy body too. I became obsessed with Starseed, and I binge-read books about the topics. I got activated in Bali at the top of a volcano, and since then I've written several blog posts about the different starseed types and helped starseeds awaken to their mission and who they are. Now I hope you have your tea ready, because now it's finally time to dive into the different starseed types. And
we'll see how much we play with this. The first part is the most important.
On Earth right now. I have the list here: Andromedan, Orion, Pleiadian, Arcturian, Sirian, and then lastly we'll talk about Lyran, signs that you are Lyran, starseed.
So I don't believe in the specific types, but the information I feel is, so I want you to listen to them as information about the universe, I suppose, our soul's existence, etc., as specifically, and not specifically about the type of Pleiadian, etc., whatever, because that's patently just not true. That's really just kind of a made up thing in a way. But the information that comes through, I think, is quite good. So I'll play that part and then we'll go on to the other video, because I think it starts to get a bit long. This again, I'm not mocking her or whatever. I just know inherently that is not a whole group of people from Pleiades cannot be all the same. It just makes no sense. To the soul, to the human, it makes no sense. It has, as the previous guy explained, it says it's not. People are too busy trying to get a box to fit into, as opposed to just learning about it. They just go, oh, that box is me, so I just jump in and that's it, and that's my job done. And for the rest of my life, I just go say, oh, I'm an indigo. Oh, I'm an indigo. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, what do you do? What have you done with it? Nothing.
And yes, I decided to start with my own starseed type, Andromedans. Here are the signs that you are from Andromeda, and it's quite many, not as many as the Pleiadians, but there are around 800,000 Andromedan starseed on Earth right now.
How do they know this?
The biggest quality is that you crave freedom. You love it so much. You hate being like locked down, like this crisis right now is not ideal. You love.
Yeah, so that's an important point, because there are people that are quite content to be within rigid society. You know, they're quite content. This is why governments work so well, not because they're very good, they're very, very bad, but because they create that false sense of security. So the masses, unfortunately, do crave that. I don't want to do anything. I want somebody to do everything for me, and I want to be safe. So that's how they're manipulated. So she's talking about that. So, but the people who see beyond this brainwashing realize that this is not freedom. This is incredible slavery, and you want to be free from it. So that's what this is about.
You have dreams to travel around the world, and that's because in Andromeda, you can very quickly move to one point to another. It's a very advanced civilization. And another reason why this crisis and this lockdowns have been very hard on Andromedan starseeds is because Andromedan starseeds are very skeptical of the governments, the elite, the secret societies in the world, and they can see right through the fear-based media and what's happening. And many Andromedan starseeds, they know about the reptilians ruling this earth, and one of the reptilians' biggest enemies are the Andromedans. So of course it's not fun as Andromedans knowing that they are controlled by the reptilians on Earth, that is why the lockdowns are happening. So yeah, skepticism about authorities and this craving for freedom is big signs that you are an Andromedan starseed. You might even have dreams of this van life culture that you might have seen on Instagram, driving a van around the world, and maybe living off-grid where you can't be controlled through your iPhone that I'm recording this video on, like it's tracking me at this moment. And so these are things that maybe other souls would never have thought about, but Andromedans are very aware of it and they want complete freedom. And another reason why you might want to live off-grid is because Andromedans love being close to nature and to water. There's a lot of water in Andromeda, and there are dolphins there, and that's why many Andromedans are...
It is quite interesting. I mean, the problem with these things is that a lot of us tend to relate to some of these things. For example, I do as well. I love water. I don't really spend a lot of time in it, but I love being near the ocean. I haven't been down to the beach. I think I've been down to the beach once since I've lived here. I still just like being near the water. I'm on my second island in the last 5 years. So there is the sense of freedom, all that. But I wouldn't aspire this. I wouldn't ascribe this specifically to dromedans, or whatever how you would say it. I just want to remind people, just look at the information that's coming through, which applies to almost everybody, to be honest.
They have an affinity to dolphins and ocean animals. Me personally, I could never live in a landlocked country. I love living near the beach. I'm just 30 minutes away. So if you are an Andromedan starseed, I highly recommend you get to the beach as often as you can. You get into nature every single day. Have houseplants around you. So important to thrive as
That's what I'm trying to do. It's so weird you're saying that. I'm trying to get houseplants.
You love learning. That is my biggest hobby. I know it doesn't sound like a hobby as such, but
it is.
I have so many books, and I constantly read through courses, and I just always want to grow and learn new things. And the reason for this is because Andromeda is one of the oldest galaxies out there. It's older than the Milky Way, so it's further ahead than the Pleiades and Earth. So Andromedans are very wise. You might be kind of the counselor in your friend group.
It's so funny she's saying that, because that's literally is my life. This particular part is very much like people say, what do you do for a hobby? I said, hobbies? Like, I don't have time for hobbies. It's like, what games do you play in your spare time? I don't have spare time to play games. It's like if I'm playing a game, you'll see it. I'll actually be on Twitch playing The Sims, a little bit of The Sims. Like, I don't really have time. I don't have time to spend on wasting time. I have time to be doing stuff, like she's talking about, learning stuff, learning new things, getting new information, becoming more intuitive, learning different techniques, learning about completely unrelated things. But that applies to certain personality types. The whole Andromedan thing is silly.
People come over to you when they have relationship problems, or they're feeling down, and you love helping them. You're a good listener. The last big sign that I will mention before moving on to the next starseed race is that you are not egoistic. My guides told me that, like, I have too little ego. That's why I had to get this tattoo, this crown tattoo, because to remind myself of my divinity, and you know, that I have a big mission here, and I actually have something to teach to people, because it can be so easy to forget. I feel often the most shy and introverted people are actually the most powerful starseeds. So it's important that we realize that we are here for an important mission, and that we have something to share with the world. We don't have to have a PhD to do that, or be world famous. Like, you can just, you know, record videos on YouTube, put it out there, you know, dare to speak your truth and share your knowledge with the world, because the Earth needs it right now. The next starseed race is the Orion starseeds. Now, the Orion starseeds, their soul originates from the Orion constellation, and unfortunately there was a great war there between the light and the dark. So many Orion starseeds carry traumas in their souls from these times, and they might give off a more like darker vibe than, for example, a Pleiadian, who are more about rainbows and sunshine. But we'll get to the Pleiadians in a bit. The first sign that you are a Orion starseed is that you are a logical thinker. You think with your brain more than with your heart, like most starseeds do. They usually think with more their heart and their intuition. And this more inclination towards logic leads to that many Orion starseeds love science and scientific matters. Orion starseeds also tend to be very self-disciplined, which usually leads to material success in the 3D, in the earth plane. If I would bet money on Starseed like becoming rich, I would bet all my money on the Orions. And while many Starseeds might be like avoiding getting rich and might have this association with money equals greed, Orion Starseeds, they really crave richness and material wealth. And because Orion Starseeds, they love order and logical thinking, they might become very strong-willed and they have strong opinions, which can cause frictions with other people. So they're more likely to get into arguments, get into fights with their loved ones and even strangers. But as they awaken, they realize that it's more about leading by example than trying to convince other people of your opinions. Just like Andromedan Starseeds, you love knowledge.
I think that's very important. What I said earlier is that being a starseed is not being an evangelist. It's simply the awareness of, well, this is not quite what we might have thought it was. This is really just so you kind of see through the whole veil of society and all that, and you look through beyond it and you realize, okay, well, this is a simulation, and we need to put less emphasis on what the simulation is about and what we are thinking and feeling and experiencing.
Love reading books. You might have a wide knowledge of different subjects, and if you went on what is it called? How to Become a Millionaire, you'd probably do really well there. Sorry for my rats, they're being a bit loud. Next up is Pleiadian Starseeds. This is one of my favorite starseed types. One of my best friends is a Pleiadian Starseed, and it's such a beautiful energy to be around. Pleiadians are multidimensional beings existing in several dimensions up to 9D. They are from the Pleiades star system in the Taurus constellation. Pleiades is a soul healing station with visitors from other star nations for the purpose of studying, relaxation, and healing. Now, Pleiadian starseeds are very different from Orion starseeds in that they don't think with like logic too much. They're all about their heart. Their heart chakra is their primary chakra, and it's very noticeable in everything they do. The job they chooses, for example, my friend, she works with different charity organizations. She worked for the UN, and in her free time she works with charity as well. And this motherly energy makes Pleiadian starseeds great parents and caretakers. Sometimes it gets a little bit too far though, so they put other people's needs in front of their own, and they get burnt out, they get depressed, or they stick with a partner who's not good for them because they want to fix them. They believe that they can fix them, and they might even seek out partners specifically who need more help and who are more work, which can become unhealthy relationships. Pleiadian starseeds are also very honest. They would not lie to a dear friend of them. They're great healers. Just being around other people heals them, and that also makes them great for professions such as doctors and psychologists. They're highly sensitive, both their minds and bodies. So being around other people can be very draining. If you're in a fight, you might get an anxiety attack, and you might be more prone to illnesses because the body is so sensitive. But of course, everything can be healed with proper diet and exercise and love for yourself. And the tricky thing with this is that they might not be able to handle Western medicine very well because of its side effects. So it might be better to turn to more Eastern medicine with herbs, etc. But I'm not your doctor. Just saying.
That's a good point there. Again, not about the type, but sometimes when you're more aware and more in tune with stuff, in other words, you're not just blocking it, you tend to be more susceptible to things and to the energies, and those energies can sometimes become overwhelming, like I was speaking about earlier. And it's very, very tiring. So it kind of can lead to physical ailments, it manifests in the ailments. And that's what she's kind of talking about, is that the more sensitive you are to these things, it's not a bad thing. It's just about managing it. You got to manage it. The easiest way is just to stay away from people. That's really the easiest way. That's the lazy way. That's what I do. It's just easier just to not be bothered and just kind of keep distance from people. That's the easiest one. Or through meditation and through etc. You get to acknowledge that you can sense the energies, you can experience part of that energy, but you don't take it on yourself. And that's what she's talking about. It actually still begins to manifest in illness because you've taken it on energies that are not necessarily yours.
It's good to take a more holistic approach if you are a Pleiadian starseed especially. Because Pleiadian starseeds' primary chakra is their heart chakra, they're also highly intuitive. And they have that gut feeling that something is about to happen even before it has happened. When it comes to their energy, I've noticed they have more of a feminine energy, but not in like this submissive way, more of a strong and empowering feminine energy. Because they're so kind and generous, they're highly likable and charming. It's the person everyone wants to become friends with. And the last sign that you are Pleiadian starseed is that you hate cruelty. You just want peace on earth, and you want to literally get your hands dirty to achieve that. You don't want to sit back and relax while someone else takes care of it. You want to be one of the change makers in this. So if these signs resonate with you, it's highly likely that you're a Pleiadian starseed. There are millions of Pleiadian starseeds on Earth right now. It is the biggest starseed type. The next starseed type is Arcturian starseeds, a very common starseed on Earth right now. Arcturians are said to originate from a blue planet that orbits around the star of Arcturus. Arcturians are very technological advanced. So many Arcturian starseed have a big passion for technology, and they believe advancements in technology are highly important for the human race to thrive. They are usually also highly mathematical. They're usually into maths as well and solving puzzles. Maybe you've had a Rubik's Cube that you like to solve, for example. And they might seem a bit guarded and cold to other people. They actually have big compassion for the other people. Their primary chakra is their throat chakra, which makes them very good at communicating and make them good counselors. They tend to be drawn to audio, so maybe you have a podcast, or you love listening to podcasts, or music. Sound healing might be something you enjoy and use frequently. They're also drawn to crystals and sacred geometry. Next up is the Lyran starseeds. Lyrans come from the Lyran constellation. Unfortunately, their planet was destroyed in a battle between them and the reptilians.
Kaboom!
And moved to other planets such as Andromeda and the Pleiades. If you are a Lyran starseed, chances are the universe has sent you pictures of birds or cats. This is to remind you of your starseed origin. Lyrans are mainly bird people, lion people, and they can also be humanoid as well. So if you have an affinity for cats, lions, or birds, then that is a sign that you are a Lyran starseed. So think about it. Do you have a cat? Do you have a tattoo of a bird? Or have you always wished you were a bird? Is birds your favorite animals? That could be a clear sign. It might even show up in your appearance. For example, having a pointed nose, or bird-like features, or like cat eyes going upwards. And just like cats, Lyran starseeds tend to sleep for longer and have higher sleep requirements than other starseeds and earthlings. Another big sign that you're a Lyran starseed is that you are a natural leader and you love leading people. Just like Pleiadian starseeds, you make an excellent leader, but contrary to the Pleiadians, who tend to shy away from the spotlights due to self-worth issues, you actually love it. You thrive in the spotlight. You are assertive and you feel comfortable giving orders. Another
Leo
sign is that you
sign.
embrace your masculine energy. You are a doing person. You are bold in your clothing choices. You speak your truth. And this masculine energy means that you can easily excel at work, but it also means you're more prone to burning out. So watch out for that. One drawback of being a Lyran starseed is that yes, you're really good at starting new projects. You have that masculine energy, but you're bad at completing them. So before you have completed your projects, you're on to the next fun thing. So those are the most common starseed races on Earth right now. Let me know in the comments which one resonated with you.
Well, I think I'll play a little bit more and just see. I think that's about the interest for this video, because the rest goes into, I can't remember, I think it's other stuff which is not that interesting, and it's going to make it too long. Anybody got any discussions, anything they want to talk about before I just go on to the final video? Yeah, like I said, take away the information, not necessarily as a specific star type, because I think it's silly. Like she just said that the Lyrans, the planet blew up and they ended up going to Andromeda. So by all intents and purposes, they should be half Andromedan and Lyrian, you know. So the actual it's like Star Wars. I feel like this is the side of it that's way too human, and it becomes a fantasy trip as opposed to informational. It's more like watching Star Wars as opposed to anything else, and that's really my only issue with the whole Starseeds culture is that it's become a mythology. It's almost like a sect, a cult, and we need to avoid that, because that's exactly what we don't want. The whole point of being a starseed is to actually move away from that cult-like behavior where the leader says boo and everybody goes bah and everybody follows. And that's what I find with a lot of starseed behavior. It's no different to what we already have. So one person says one thing and everybody goes, yes, that's enough. Find out the truth for yourself. What resonates, not because it's just easier and you'd like it to be the truth, but what actually resonates from within. Let's just see what else she's got to say. I think I'll move on to the next video.
You the most. So the next step now is knowing, how do you know for sure that you are this specific starseed race?
The rest just goes to technical stuff.
The easiest way to do this is to get a starseed origin birth chart reading done.
Yeah, that's what goes. That's a specialization. Again, I'll post just the video once more. I think I just did a message back. For those of you who haven't seen, that's the video to her channel, to her video, which I thought the beginning part had a lot of very good points, which I thought would be good to make. Now we're going to go back to that Oren guy. He's quite entertaining as well, so not as long a video. 3 things.
This video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 things that all starseeds do in their dream state and don't even know it. Once you know these 3 things I'm about to share with you, you're going to see your life in a completely different way, and it's going to activate you in a completely new way. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you those 3 things that all starseeds do when they're in dream state at night, but aren't even aware of it. Because the thing is there is a veil of forgetfulness for when we wake up in this reality. There's a purpose behind that too, because we are multi-dimensional beings that are having temporary human experiences. And because of that, if we were to understand everything we're doing at many different layers of reality right now, it would be a bombardment of information. We wouldn't be able to perceive of all of it, because our brain, the 3D physical brain, is only able to capable of dissecting or integrating so much information. It can't decipher a whole bunch of different layers of reality all at once, because that's not what it's designed to do. So first off, there's this underlying knowing and sense that you are an immortal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And beyond just that, the thing is if you're even clicking on this video, then I want you to know as well, you are a starseed. A starseed is someone who is aware of these multi-dimensional different levels and who is aware that they are here to wake up and to help other people awaken. You are literally carrying light with you everywhere you go, even if you're not aware of it. And that light, that awareness, even being interested in this kind of information is going to trickle out in ways you don't even understand. It's going to influence people at subconscious levels, and it's going to start to plant seeds of awakening within other people. Now, that's what a starseed is, and let me tell you something. You wouldn't have perceived of this video if you weren't a starseed. You can only perceive that which you are the vibration of. So if you're here right now, then first off, you are a starseed. This video is directly relevant to you regardless of your age. You may say, well, I'm only 15 years old. Does this relate to me? You may say I'm 50 years old, or whatever age you are. If you're here right now, then you are a starseed. You are someone that is here to awaken other people, even at subconscious levels. Like, I'm not saying that you need to get on YouTube and make videos like me. You may, if that's what you want to do. But I'm just saying, by you being into this kind of information, you're already waking up people on the planet. Now, the truth is, we are multi-dimensional beings living temporary human experiences. So because of that, and because we exist at multiple different facets at...
And that's the important facet that I always try and teach people. We are souls living a temporary human existence, not a permanent human genetic model that happens to have a soul. It's the other way around. So the emphasis is not on this reality, but on the experience of this reality.
At the same time, and our being is so much more than we can even possibly imagine, it is not relevant for us to understand everything all at this moment, because this is the thing. The body that we inhabit is a vehicle. We're an immortal spiritual being. Before we were in this life, we were a non-physical spirit that wasn't limited by that of the physical body. They say a lot of times the reason babies cry is because when babies cry when they're being born, they are aware that, uh-oh, they're in a confined body again. It is not the most comfortable thing. So that is the understanding of who you really are, because you, this body, is an avatar. But see, we grow up in life believing that our avatar is who we are, when in actuality, our avatar is just something we use. Our ego is just something we use. We don't have to fight the ego. We don't have to crush the ego. We just be aware that the ego is a part, but not completely who we are. We don't want to completely identify with it. Now, understanding this, we can then see that right now on the planet, it is a time of awakening. You see, you have existences at many different levels. There are people and souls that are connected to many different parts of the universe. The reason being is because, think about it, you're an immortal spiritual being living a temporary human experience. Would you just incarnate on one planet over and over and over again when you're this vast spiritual being? Or would you have many different existences at different levels, meaning you may have a life or a parallel incarnation in the Pleiades, in Arcturus, in Sirius. These are all the most stereotypical understandings, but the universe is so much more vast than even that. But you see, this is the thing. We are now on the planet becoming aware of this. Many of these different existences and levels are higher vibrational, and we're all connected to it. We are connected to these higher vibrational states. Now, here's the thing that changed my life. Knowing this one idea, this one thing, the first one I'm going to share with you, of what you're doing at night when you go to bed that you're not even aware of. It's, you think that you're dreaming at night. You think you're going to bed and you're dreaming. When you are in your body, you are having and experiencing reality through the five senses using the avatar ego self. When you go to bed at night, you shed your body. You don't shed it like you leave your body, and you go into what is called your astral body. Your astral body is not limited by the physical body, and then you have all this flexibility to move around. You can do a whole bunch of different things. And what happens is when you wake up in the morning, your astral body is coming back into that of your physical body, and there's this small little buffer of subconscious messages you may give of these things that happen in your dreams, which were just dreams are just symbolic representations of maybe a communication from your spiritual guides, from your higher self, whatever it is. But all you're seeing with your dreams is you coming back into your body, this little window of like the 5 or 10 minutes, you coming back in. However, when you go to bed at night, You are awake to higher levels of consciousness, and you are also doing work. Because as a starseed, you came here to awaken. Not just in 3D physical life, but in higher dimensional states as well. So when you go to bed at night, you are teaching. You are learning, you are teaching, you are helping other people. You may be having conversations with your parents. Maybe right now in this life, in awake state, maybe in awake state, you have it, your family and your friends don't get you. Many times with starseeds, that's very common. Because you may be passionate about it. I know that when I went through my awakening, go through a spiritual awakening, opens up my eyes to all of these things, so passionate about it, my vibration raised so high, I go out there thinking everyone's going to love hearing about this. It's back in 2011, 2012. Everyone is going to love knowing about this. So what do? I go out, yo, Dad, what's up, Dad? Listen, we're connected to extraterrestrial races. We're connected to these higher dimensional states of consciousness. We're immortal spiritual beings living temporary human experiences. And then going to friends and family, listen, we're ascending our vibration, this time a planet of awakening, of understanding more of who we are. And guess what happened? Everyone said, yeah. Nope, that's not what happened. That's not how it happened at all. People looked and were like, what the hell are you talking about, bro? Just drink with us. Just chill and smoke some hookah. My dad's like, yo, just watch football. Why are you talking about all this stuff? And thought it was weird. But guess what? Even though it's weird here, and we're becoming aware of how to do this easier, more and more people are waking up now too, which is it's honestly phenomenal how quickly people are waking up. I'm making videos on starseeds right now, and it feels comfortable, it feels natural, and there are so many people reaching out to me, and there's videos that I can tell it resonates with people. It's a time of awakening on the planet. But when you go to bed at night, maybe your parents and your family and your friends don't get it in your physical life, but maybe in their astral bodies, you're helping them work through it. You're like, yo, Jim.
That's the thing. Most people look at the starseeds and the work that has to be done as in being in the physical body, like an evangelist. And that's not really what the point is. The point is evolution of soul, of spirit, not of the human being. The human being is temporary. So, like, if you spend your whole life trying to fix this planet, and there's a lot needs fixing, the planet will end. The simulation will come to a close. The game will be over. We'll move on to the next one. So you have actually focused attention on a futile thing. And it's very hard to accept once you begin to understand the concept of all of this, is that this is actually here to teach us something. It's not here for us to fix. It's here for us to learn from it. And that's why, so the sort of televangelist, starseeds people, to me, is like it's like you've picked up an interesting book, you've memorized everything, and you're just going around telling everybody. That's not the point. And I think that's why I like this guy's videos, because he's nailed it. He understands it.
I know that you think I'm weird, but guess what? This is a part of the process. And he's like, I know, but my physical body ain't ready to understand it. So let's find out if I can see it like this or like this. And you're helping them in higher dimensional states. You see, there's a whole nother world that happens when you go to bed at night. But when you wake up in the morning, there's this veil of forgetfulness and you forget it all. You don't remember it until it's relevant. In this life, we will become more relevant of this buffer. There are many civilizations on this planet that have moved from a 3D level, not on this planet, there's many civilizations in the universe that have moved from a 3D level of consciousness to a 4 or 5D level of consciousness. And what happens is they merge the dream life with the awake life. We literally become our higher selves. We raise our vibrations. And that's what's happening on the planet right now.
So that's where the soul, the evolved soul, is at. It's able to create awakened dreaming, because what we have right now, this experience that I include myself just for inclusion in it, we have a dream state. So we are in a dream state. We are trying to find information and trying to remember the stuff that the soul knows, so we can awaken out of the dream and be present and active in the dream state. That's what he's talking about. So that's the awakening. You awaken from this dream where the house is important, the car is important, the social status is important. And it's not that you necessarily just leave it completely, but you understand it for what it is. And that's when you truly start to have an awakened dream, as opposed to, and it sounds contradictory, but it's the best way we can explain it. The awakened dream is experiencing the dream and knowing it's a dream, but still experiencing it. It is difficult because it's like I always say to people, if you were playing a computer game and you had played the whole game and you got to the end and you know how it ends and you know how everything turns out, when you replay it, it has a very low interest level because now you know it. So the game is up, the cat is out of the bag, all those sayings. And that is when you need to find a new meaning to life. And I always warn people, be careful what you wish for, because when you get to this point, you live in a world where everyone is asleep. And you're looking at all these people, and a lot of them think they're awake, and you watch them in their sleep state, thinking they're awake. They're not awake in the dream. They are dreaming that they're awake within the dream. It's very difficult to explain. But once you realize that, you realize, oh, fuck, none of this is really that important. This is just a game. This is just a dream. This is just a state. And that is both heavy to carry, but it also liberates you because it stops living in oblivion, in a way. You begin to live more in the present, and that's what living in the present also tends to really be about. Live the experience, whatever the experience is, and once you know you're living a sort of a matrix, a sort of existence, then you're aware of it. Then you go, well, okay, I know what this is. I know, let's just go and really just enjoy it for whatever it is.
So when you go to bed every single night, you are awake to higher states of consciousness. You feel more unconditional love and bliss than you can even imagine. And right now in this life, you're just not aware of it. And it's okay, but we're becoming more aware of this. And another way you can become more aware of this is to meditate. Meditate more. Connect with your higher self. Connect with your heart center, which is connected to this astral body and is connected to these higher dimensional states of consciousness. That's how you get this information. People ask me all the time, where do you get your information? How do you know this stuff? Well, what I do is I get into a flow state, I connect in meditation to my higher self, and I allow this information to come through. But when you go through a spiritual awakening, it's things you just naturally know. Like you as a starseed, you intuitively, deep down, know you are a starseed. Which is just a label. It's a convenient label for understanding that you're multidimensional, but you woke up first, and you're here to literally plant the seeds into other people and to help them know that they are also from the stars.
And if you're not planting those seeds, if you're not doing that, then you're just pretending to be a starseed. Like, wow, I'm totally a starseed. No, you're an idiot. You're an idiot that read a book and now is going around going, I'm a starseed. No, starseeds lead by example. They try to change their lives. They try to better their lives. They try to bring awareness to people, even though when it makes them very unpopular and people block them and ban them all over the place. That's being a starseed. You are planting a seed, not talking about planting a seed.
We have connections at many different layers, and that's what we're becoming aware of. Second thing that you do when you go to bed at night as a starseed that you don't even know you're doing is you're actually planning out your next day. Not completely, there's free will here, but there's certain probability factors that your higher self understands. And what you're doing is you're planning out your day to learn certain things, because right now on the planet is a quickening of vibration, and we're able to get through so much karma so fast. You could say that in a way that karma is kind of going away, because the vibration is speeding up so fast that when things happen, boom, cause effect, cause effect, cause effect.
I've been saying this for a long time. A lot of people believe in this karma, in the way it's written by people, and the way it's interpreted by the masses. That the interpretation is not correct. It's not an eye for an eye. It's not, if you do wrong to me, then I will get recompense from you at some point in some lifetime. No, it's an energy. So there is checks and balances, and it's balanced out continuously. And it's balanced out through every single lifetime through different parties. So it's a stage production, and everybody comes together, and different lifetimes in some lifetime, you might have a lot taken from you, okay? And then in a different lifetime, you'll come back to having a more abundant kind of lifetime. And those karmic addresses can be balanced by anyone in participating in this stage production. So it's not that X has done harm to Y, so Y needs recompense from X. No, it's a balance. This is a very human way to look at it, which is incorrect. It's incorrect from a spiritual point of view. So that's why he's saying the whole concept of karma is kind of going away, because it kind of doesn't make any sense, because we see people committing huge crimes, horrible things to humanity, etc. But there's another way to look at that, which I've discussed quite often. And it's got nothing really to do with the human idea of karma, which is by and large correct. Also, what he's talking about, that's actually what I wanted to address, is that karma is not, so you made me miserable for 20 years, now you have to be miserable for 20 years. No, it's a learning, it's an evolution of the soul. So when the soul comes to learn specific things, so if you have a Hitler-like existence, okay, it's to learn something about it. Okay, you learn from it. So if you have a karma hangover about the previous lifetime, the idea is for you to actually come to terms with whatever you have not yet come to terms with. As soon as you have learned that karmic debt per se ceases to exist. Because this is not a system of slavery. The soul is not a system of slavery. It's not a tit-for-tat system. It's a school. So you go to the school, you go to different subjects, different lifetimes, to learn things that help the soul to evolve, to become more pathetic in a way, to become to experience more. So that's what it is. That's why what he's talking about is quite key. And most people will not understand because they cling to the old version of karma.
It's happening so fast. So right now, there's a lot of this processing coming up, all this emotion coming up. Maybe you feel it. Do you feel this emotion coming up? Do you feel these past experiences coming up that now you feel like you're dealing with? This is why. You are completing the past so that you do not repeat the past. And you're going through it right now. And you're going through it now, and other people are going through it, but you may be going through it first so that you can help other people go through it later. Because then they're going to be freaking out. Think about it. We're waking up first. You have millions and billions of people on the planet that are in the process of waking up, but at the very, very, very early stages of going into it. And imagine they look around, and they're...
Hey, thank you so much for the raid. McChacha. I think
oh my god, we're like totally being raided.
Thank you very much for the raid. Welcome in. Have a look at your clip.
Oh, you like the little things I do with my voice there? Thank you. It's the autism.
Look at it. You're just so happy. I want your chair. My chair's terrible. I also wanted to, I had an extra space to swing around. Welcome in and thank you for the raid. I'm just basically kind of coming towards the end of second part of the Starseeds discussion. I've just got over the last two sessions. The first part is already highlighted and saved in playlist. This one will be also highlighted, chopped out, and just the actual body of the information will be added to that playlist. So thank you very much for raiding. And that's what we're doing. We're kind of watching. This is kind of the last video. We've just been watching bits and then discussing it and then stopping it. Well, I think by and large, most people are now just listening or really lurking. We've been going for a few hours. So, who am I? Not really important. My name is Joe. I've been doing Cartomancy for about 20 years, over 20 years. And I'm tending to move away from it now. I'm actually only do card readings usually on a Saturday, mostly because the demand is also quite low at the moment. So I've been branching out into actually having the discussions, which I always wanted to do, was to have discussions with people and have people actually understand things like we are discussing today. And I thought this Starseeds discussion is important, that we move away from the boxing of terms and labels and things like that, and move into understanding what it is. because it's more, the whole term star seed is to plant the seed of knowledge, of the soul's knowledge, as opposed to just taking on a label. Anyway, I'm going to play a little bit more. If anybody's got anything to add or discuss or comment, feel free.
They're scared and they're feeling all this emotion come up. They're not understanding it. And they look at you and they're like, remember that guy or that girl? I used to think they were kind of weird. But guess what? They're so calm and collected and they're emitting so much light. They look so happy. I'm going to go to them for advice. You see, that's how it works. Now,
lead by example.
When you go to bed at night, you are also planning out certain probability factors. I believe there's many things in my life that I can become aware of. There's certain people that have brought into my life, relationships, where I could tell that my higher self or our higher selves were getting us to link up together. We're getting certain synchronicities in our life to pop into our experience. And it's just a matter of time because there is free will, but your higher self is working with you at night to help you in this process. And you are literally looking at certain probabilities and certain things, maybe even appointments with other people's higher selves. So for example, you may be into something to where you are having an experience with someone and you get up with their higher self and you say, hey, how about we run into each other at the supermarket this day? And then you gave me this, you're thinking about something or you're getting something and we start to get this conversation and something ends up progressing to then go into a class together or something like that. You never know. But these are things that you do. You look at your day and you find out the probabilities of what may or may not happen and you help link it up. So that's why it's important to also be tuned to your higher self.
I think that's a very interesting concept. I never really thought of it that way. I do know that most of our dreams are often processing the day's events. So the actual physical brain dreams are a processing of what we've already been through. So if you actually sit and write down your dreams, a lot of the dreams are literally just, you can actually track the information back to the last day, the last couple of days. It's the brain going over some of the information and really just processing it. So that's quite an interesting concept that you actually, it's almost like setting your agenda for the following day. It's very, very interesting. And I think there's a lot of elements in that. It's actually very interesting because it's a proactive way of living. So if you think about it, in your dream state, if you are planning out your day, then you are being proactive. You're saying, right, tomorrow I want to experience this, or I want to go and do this, or I want to have this sort of experience. And then, you know, of course, as he said, nothing is set in stone, but then you have a plan as opposed to just waking up in the morning and, I don't know, just drift through the day and we'll see what happens. This brings a more spiritual element into your day where you're specifically learning or experiencing specific things. And I do feel, I don't think this is like every single night. I don't think so. But I think it's on specific days. If you pay attention, you will realize you have these very profound days. And I think that is possibly what he's talking about, that you've kind of planned or agreed to meet with soulmates or friends or very special people, that you do agree to bump into each other on those particular days and have a little conversation.
Tune to your intuition, because the more you listen to that intuition, the more you quickly work through things. That is what it's about. Now, the third thing that all starseeds do in their dream state, but they don't even know it, has to do with just understanding that this life right now is a dream. You are dreaming. You are dreaming that in this physical reality, that everything that feels so physical because we can perceive it through our physical senses, we assume that everything is solid, but remember, in quantum physics, things are both a wave and the particle. They're both solid and vibrational. And this reality is your dream state. And you don't even know it. You're dreaming right now. And because you're dreaming right now, and because this reality is more flexible than you can even imagine, guess what? Manifestation is easier than you can even imagine. Because when you know that, first off, you are a divine, immortal, spiritual being, the energy from which you then go to create what you want in your life becomes much more flexible. If you think everything is very solid and real, then it's harder for you to manifest because you have to try to create something from over there and bring it into here. That thing over there is just a vibration. that is holding itself together, but it is moving. It is a wave and a particle. So when you become aware that this life is a dream, the more dream-like your life will become. So you're dreaming right now. You are an immortal spiritual being living a temporary human experience. You've forgotten that you are dreaming, and now you are waking up because you're awake that you're a starseed. And part of being a starseed is understanding that this is a dream of life in 3D physical reality, but that at a higher level, you exist in unconditional love and bliss, and you're waking up to that right now. You are a starseed. You are waking up to this. Does this resonate with you? Let me know in the comments below. Does this resonate with you? Is this resonating at a deep level? Some of it can be kind of mind-blowing because it's like, well...
Hey, Marty. Welcome in.
Well, what do you mean this is a dream? It feels so real. This is just a long, consistent dream. The thing is, when we go to bed at night, we have certain dreams. And yes, when you go to bed at night, you are having some dreams, but these dreams are normally symbolic representations of things that you can bring in your 3D reality, because this is the thing, in the higher dimensions, you do things beyond the 5 senses. So how can a body and a brain that only interprets reality through reference experiences through the 5 senses understand something that happens beyond the 5 senses? There's no way for it to really understand it. So we get these little symbolic representations. This is what I'm doing. I've been having a lot of people reach out to both Lior and I, saying that we've been in their dreams at night. And it's funny because I've had 2 or 3 people tell me that there's this one dream they've had where I'm driving in a car with them, showing them different roads they can go on. Now, it could be that I'm just showing them different paths that they can go on, showing them different ways, different outcomes, different parallel realities they can shift to.
This is an interesting concept because on the soul level, we don't have the limitation of space-time. Everything happens at the same time. Like you were talking about this dream. This dream is happening at the same time as the soul is having a different dream. As they're having I don't necessarily like calling them dreams because it freaks people out. It's like, oh my God, I'm dreaming. Yeah, well, it is kind of a dream state. Everything is a sort of a dream state. The difference is whether you're aware of it. Like technically, starseeds should be aware of this. That's what makes them a starseed, or not. So we kind of tend to be less concerned with the actual physical reality, and that what he's talking about, the manifestation. The manifestation is in a sense it should be easier. We still find it pretty difficult because we are in the physical body, but that's what he's talking about.
Different manifestations they could have. It could be that. It could be that I'm just a symbol, that I'm not really in the dream. But we're all connected anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get at, is that the limitations of the soul is not that it is timeline specific. So like right now, in this reality that we call a dream state, like I'm only here. So I cannot be, for example, up at the shop, the fritteria, talking to the lovely owners there, and palpating fresh food, which to me is still fascinating after living in Europe for 5 years. So I'm not there. I'm here live on YouTube talking to you guys. That's the limitation of this particular manifestation of incarnation, is that we aside, we can only be in one place at the same time. The soul, however, doesn't have that limitation. It's able to actually truly multitask and have multiple experiences all at the same time, which is beyond the explanation on human terms. So that's why he's saying he could be in other people's dreams in a sense, because that soul needs some information that the way he can explain it to them, they can understand. And that's why I often teach people, is that what I say is not for everybody, because not everyone will understand, not everyone will resonate with it, largely because they don't want to. When we do not want to acknowledge a truth, we simply say, that doesn't resonate because we don't like it. So we're all guilty of this, myself included. Like I often say to people, the way things are, and I say, I don't say it's that way because I want them to be that way, because I prefer them to be different. But it is that way, and I can't get away from it, and I'm not prepared to lie to myself about it. It just is what it is, and you kind of then move on from there and you evolve.
We're all connected in this dream of life. We use certain symbols to represent certain things to us. I'm on YouTube, I'm in the public light, so many people may say, Aaron, you were in my dream. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. Maybe I am just a symbol in reality, and there really is no me. This is when we get even deeper, as you can see. How far down the rabbit hole you want to go, you know? Here's the thing, though. In totality, in summary, you are an immortal spiritual being living a temporary human experience. You exist at many different levels at the same time. When you go to bed at night, you are awake, you are teaching, you are planting seeds, you are helping people, you are doing things you can't even imagine, but then you wake up in the morning and you forget that. Because there's a veil of forgetfulness. It's not necessarily always relevant. Most people, if they remembered what it's like in the higher dimensions, they may not really want to be here. But you are now waking up to this. The other thing that you do every single night.
And that's the thing, is that's the one symptom or sign that you're a starseed, is that sensation of feeling like you don't belong here, because technically you don't. This is like, it's like going to a movie house, having an experience, and at the end of the day, the movie's over and you need to leave. Once you understand that you are having once you have the awakened dream, then you understand this and you think, it's like, now I know this. It's like a spoiler. So it does, in a sense, spoil the it's like somebody telling you the end of a movie or how a game works or where you can find everything. It spoils that excitement for it because we've forgotten what it is. So we are literally experiencing it like a newborn baby. So that's kind of also what he's talking about here.
When you go to bed, is you plan out your next days, what's going to happen, what kind of probabilities, factors can come into play. Not the whole thing minutely, but you do plan it out in general. And then the third thing is you are dreaming right now and you're becoming aware of this. And the more you realize your life is a dream, the more flexible your life will become. The more magical your life will become, and the more things will manifest easier than ever. So let me know if all this resonates with you in the comments below. I'll make more videos like this if so. Also, I have one of the most powerful meditations I've made is on raising your vibrational set point so that you can really wake up to these higher states of consciousness. It's in the top of the description box below. It is listed to it for 21 days. I think it'll absolutely transform your life. Also, I'll be doing more live Q&As on Instagram. I do them almost every day. Plus, I do 2 times a day. I do posts there as well, native content to Instagram. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, you'll see that below or right here. You can follow me there as well. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the little notification gear next to the subscribe button so you can see the daily vids that I do.
Oh, that's a horrible
Other than that, as always, peace.
Right, so anybody got any questions? Anybody want to add anything? I'm feeling like most people now are kind of lurking. So again, at any point, well, I don't have any more videos really. That was the last one. I think that's I've been streaming for how many hours? Oh, it's really been 3 hours. So if the conversation's kind of dried up, I may actually end the stream shortly. Go find somebody to raid. As I said, at any point people can actually discuss, and the whole point was not just to watch videos, but also to discuss the various points and add a different spin on a different perspective. But this is very, very true. We are living a dream. It's a dream-like state. That's why it doesn't actually matter. The experience of the dream is what matters. So, for example, having a Ferrari isn't important. It's the experience of having the Ferrari. The actual physical possession, physical reality of things means nothing to the soul unless there's an experience attached. So this is something that I always speak about continuously. And he's talking about the whole awakened dream and dreaming and then programming your day ahead, etc. Is because the soul wants to experience certain sensations, certain feelings, certain human experiences. So that's why we're having this life. The collection of physical objects and things is in essence also an illusion. So spending your entire life trying to attain those things is almost futile, because you can't take it with you. You can only take the experiences with you. So it's better to have fewer things and to actually have the experience of those things than to have a lot of things that you never have time to experience.